What's up, everybody? Hope everyone is having a great evening so far. We got a very special show tonight. I'm here with my co-host, Brad. We got Marsh from Fours Up Podcast. We got Deco. He's at every single game. That's why he looks familiar to you. We got the legendary John Michaels. And we got the pride and joy of St. Thomas Aquinas, Roman Marciante from the OBB Boys. What's up, guys? Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. The way you say Roman's last name, man, you just put it a little different, man. It got that little twang to it.
That's 23 years in Miami for you, man.
I like that.
Bro, I told him when I jumped on with him on his show, I was like, bro, well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah,
when people ask me, they're like, how do you say your last name? I'm like, well, what part of the street? If I'm north of Cayocho, then it's like Marciante. If I'm south or on Cayocho, it's Marchante. Let's go.
That's fire right there. That is so fire.
Goodness. Well, hey, fellas, thank you all for joining us. We got a couple more guests that will be coming in later on. We got Cam Underwood, and we also got Terminator X from Caneville as well that'll be joining us. But hey, let's get it started, man. Let's start with a little bit of news that happened earlier today. And usually when we talk about NFL and Miami Hurricanes, we are usually NFLU. But as we saw today, we had 11 players get cut today from the NFL. You got guys like Lamar Miller, Jeff Thomas, Trajan Bandy, Romeo Finley. I mean, the list goes on. Give me a little bit of thoughts about that. What were your guys' thoughts right off the bat? Let's go with Co first.
Well, some of those kids you just named should have stayed in school for the senior year. Like, I think that's just hands down the way it should have been. Like, you're going to go and kind of try to draft and then go undrafted. That's tough, man. You have another year to come back as a senior to literally have everything given to you for one more year when you know you really weren't at that level to go to the NFL yet, and yet you bounce. So you know what? Listen, I don't want to use the word karma, but whoever these people are that are in these kids' ears and in these parents' ears, like the school compliance want to talk about us as fans. I think the compliance people need to get on these agents and all these runners that are in these kids' ears and families' ears and deal with those people instead.
Absolutely. And we got Cam Underwood that just joined us. Cam, what's going on, man?
Yo, what's popping? Just opened a nice little adult beverage here. Yo, my birthday boy Roman, what's going on? Day before me. John, Marsh, Derek, golly, man, I'm with Brad and yo, man, everybody in here, man.
Yes, sir. So as you just joined us, man, we're talking about all the NFL cuts that happened today. I think a couple people in the chat are saying we've had maybe 20 guys, but I only counted 11. It's still a lot for NFLU. But we were just talking about, and Co was mentioning about players being in their ear, leaving early and whatnot. And what I want to know, since you just jumped on, I'll go ahead and ask you this. What do you think could be the difference? Do you think maybe winning more games this year could possibly get these kids back to where they would stay their senior year? Or maybe it could be the chief of staff, Ed Reed, who could possibly be a mentor to a lot of these guys and say, hey, look, man, I've done everything you can do in the NFL. I am a Pro Bowler. I am a Hall of Famer. You don't have what it takes to get to that next level unless you stay one more year. Do you think something like that could possibly help? What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, there's that, but there's also just personal situations. Like everybody knows, like in a perfect world, Trajan Bandy would be back this year. Everybody knows that. But got a family to feed, so I'm going to try to make it in the NFL. And if not, then I'm going to keep grinding at it or I'm going to do something else. But time has come where I got to go. You know what I mean? So there's that as well. But yeah, I mean, I think obviously winning, having that culture of winning will keep guys around. But even when Miami was winning championships, guys left early. So there's going to be some who leave. You're going to have your Gregory Rousseau, who's going to be a top 15 pick, top 10 pick, whether he plays a snap this calendar year or not. It don't make much difference, So it's kind of six of one hand, half dozen in the other. Having Ed Reed around who's been there, I think that's going to help. I think winning games is going to help, but also balancing that against, just personal desire and personal situations. Because, hey, some guys love the college experience. Some guys want to be there for 4 years. Other guys, I'm 3 and I'm out, period, regardless of what happens. So,
Cam,
a little bit.
Cam, unless you're like Scott Patchen, who wants to be in college almost 10 years.
I've always made the joke that I thought that Matt Harpering played basketball at Georgia Tech for the entire decade of the 1990s. I swear, every time you looked up from 1990 to 99, number 15, Matt Harpering on that goddamn team. And it's like Scott Patchen, literally his, sixth, seventh?
Yeah.
I mean,
6 year, yeah.
Right, but I mean, since 2013's recruiting class or 14, I mean, long time, man. But
he could stay for his 7th year too. That's the craziest thing. I mean,
you know what I mean?
His 7th year, he might have a grandkid while he's in college.
I mean, let us all put one up for
college football.
Dr. Scott Patchen. You know what I mean?
He's a little bit old, but you know who that was for us? That was Carlos Huerta. Carlos Huerta kicked from 83 to 99 for Miami. I promise it went from him to Matt Bosher. There was no
John,
kicker.
you have no idea. Like, he is one of my favorite players of all time. People do not give Huerta as much credit as he deserves, but he was the absolute best.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
that dude was onions. I want to piggyback on the point about guys leaving early. I was lucky enough to work in the NFL for almost a decade, so the business behind it never got lost on me. Traveling on the plane with kids, and I say kids because they were 10 years or 15 years younger than me that would get on there and have that NFL dream. And in a year like this, and I said this back when the pandemic first hit, I said this will be the toughest year for kids that weren't guaranteed salary guys. And I'm talking about those top 5 rounds, because after the 5th round, I'm going to be real. The NFL doesn't give a damn about you. You're a 6th or 7th rounder. You're so expendable, it's not even funny. Yeah. Nevertheless, the undrafted free agent kids, the hope for somebody like Bandy or Jeff Thomas, being that they expanded the NFL roster, 16 practice squad players that they get on there. You get on a practice squad, it's $100,000. You're going to get $100,000 for the next 16 weeks to play football. And for somebody like Bandy, who we know had family problems and had money issues, that $100,000 goes a long damn way, as opposed to going to get a regular job. The problem is, and I think Cam and I talked about this on the State of Miami pod maybe a month and a half ago, the issue is not that we have kids leaving. Greg Russo, go get your fucking NFL money because that's where you belong.
Right.
Yep.
The problem is we have kids leaving to be 6th rounders. We have kids leaving to be undrafted free agents. That
100%
has to change. You could go back, was it Brandon Washington? He left to be a 6th rounder. If he stays another year, he's an all ACC guard. You cannot leave and be a 5th, 6th, or 7th rounder, because that business, and I was around it, it'll eat you up, spit you up, and throw you out the back end. Lamar Miller should be on an NFL team. Mohamed Sanu, and I know Bean talk really well, Sanu should be on an NFL team. When you see guys like that and Adrian Peterson getting cut, you think they give a damn about Trajan Bandy or Jeff Thomas, or they don't care about those kids at all.
I thought Jeff Thomas was stealing somebody's job, though. And I tweeted it from State of the U account. I honestly, and he was one of the last, if you look, he was one of the last cuts that they made. I really thought he was going to steal somebody's job up there in New England.
Well, I tell you right now, he was stealing offensive lineman's number in the meantime, because being 75 as a wide receiver.
Preseason is what it is.
Hey,
no, for sure, though.
Don't disrespect that number 75 over there in New England,
that's
bro.
Big
That's
Vince.
Do not steal his number, bro. You're talking O lineman. That's D lineman right there.
I know. Speaking of stealing numbers, I don't know if a lot of y'all know, but there's a lot of Seahawks fans that are jumping at DJ Dallas because he asked Cam Chancellor to take the 31 number. And a lot of Seahawks fans just didn't like that. And I think a guy like DJ Dallas is going to blossom real nice in the NFL. I mean, the way he picks up blocks in the passing game and then his heart and mentality alone, it's going to take him a long way, man. But we are all here for one reason only, and that is to talk about Miami Hurricanes football. We are just 5 days away. As my man Cole likes to say, this is Andre Johnson days away, Mr. Edgerrin James days away from college football for the Miami Hurricanes, man. I can't believe we are finally getting to see the orange and green on the field and a De'Aaron King in a Hurricane uniform, man. I mean, you talk about quarterbacks and you talk about offensive coordinators. I'm going to go straight to Roman with this one. We're watching SMU right now, and they're not looking like the same SMU football team. I wonder why. What's your take on that, Roman?
2 words, Rhett Lashley. I'll say him again, Rhett Lashley. I mean, they turned around and they get the App State running back from last year. They promoted him at App State, and then SMU decided to grab him before he could ever call plays. And he's learning on the fly. I mean, this is kind of his first gig. So, and you're going from a guy that has the pedigree that, prior to even getting an SMU job, an SMU gig, he put up some numbers with UConn. Obviously, you go back to his Auburn days, and that guy, you know, and a lot of people, because I've talked to you and I broke bread with you way before, and you asked me before there was an offensive coordinator, and you were like, who do you want? And I was like, Rhett Lashley. So not this room, but a lot of individuals like, who's that? I'm like, that's the guy who just took SMU talent, a bottom feeder, a bottom dweller of a program, and averaged 40 points a game. So when you're the University of Miami and you have done more with like less with more than anybody, you needed to get somebody to reverse the trend and do more with less. And that is Rhett Lashley for me. And I'm excited, boys, for this Thursday, because I'm not surprised that SMU's struggling. Not at all. And I know what's not going to struggle. I'm not going to scream from the rooftops for almost a decade for this offense. This offense on Thursday is not going to struggle. You can mark it now.
Not at all. And you talk about struggling, Roman, before we get too in deep with the depth chart, man, let's talk about the first position, and that is quarterback, which is obviously your position. You're the quarterback guru. So let's break down the quarterbacks for all the Hurricane fans. We obviously have D'Eriq King, who is a Heisman, pre-Heisman candidate. We saw what he just did in this last scrimmage, throwing for 6 touchdowns, something that most Miami Hurricane fans are not used to seing, not even in a scrimmage.
Talk about Jaron Williams last year.
Jaron Williams threw 6.
Baby.
I know that, but we're not used to that though. Come on, man. That's a once in a lifetime thing. We all know Jaron Williams. That was a once in a lifetime thing, looking based off his whole season. But D'Eriq King brings himself a whole different mentality in the way he carries himself. What is your thoughts on D'Eriq King, and who do you think should take that second spot on the depth chart, since we don't officially have it yet?
Okay, so for me, D'Eriq King, what's lost is the 6 touchdowns that he threw. You don't need to get lost there. It's the broadcast, right? It's the 95 neon billboard that you're going to see. He threw 6 touchdowns. You know what was impressive for me? The 84 yards on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let me say that again. 84 rushing yards on the ground. We were the bottom dwellers in the ACC last year in yards per game. Basically, if you get about 19 more yards, D'Eriq King, the quarterback, just would have equaled what our average last year was rushing in a scrimmage. That's the problem that he's going to give the defensive coordinators. That's the habitual nightmare. You can't cover everything. You're just not going to be able to. If they want to out-leverage you and outnumber you in the run game, very easily they can do it with a mobile quarterback and D'Eriq King. So I know he could throw the ball. Just his ability to keep teams honest, to scare, to have a home run threat as a running quarterback is going to pay dividends. You asked me the second part of the question, who's the number 2? And I'm going to go to my left side, strong side, and N'Kosi Perry. You know, N'Kosi Perry. He's champion and president of the N'Kosi Hive. And listen, Pete, me and N'Kosi Hive, we went at it. I was like a fumigator last year. I was going in right to the hive with some anti-fog. But the reality is once I heard Rhett Lashley was going to be the offensive coordinator, if Jaron Williams would have stayed, I said N'Kosi Perry was going to win the job because he finally has a system that is tailor-made for him. You have to go back to his days at Ocala Vanguard when he spread the ball. It was a lot of one read and go. This is where he can shine. This is where he can use his athleticism. I think it's him as the backup quarterback, and rightfully so, because he stayed with the program. He showed true grit, and he showed heart and determination. I'm a big fan of Tyler Van Dyke, so I would say he's right underneath that. That's the obvious choice, but I think the quarterback room's in good hands this year. I really do.
But backing up on what Roman said, there's 2, and Manny Diaz said this, there's always 2 plays when Miami snaps the ball this year. There's the play that they call and the play that D'Eriq King can make happen. And while they do it differently because, there's a 6-inch height difference and, whatever we want to talk about between King and Perry does also offer that ability. And you can see that he did it on film. Obviously, when we kind of went up tempo with him on the field, at Miami, then you saw the arm strength, you saw the ability, the one read and go, the ability to make things happen. So obviously it's not the exact same, but they offer some of those same abilities of mobility, which is an added weapon that, the likes of which Miami really has never had in the history of the program at quarterback. I mean, Kenny Kelly had the athleticism, but never did it. What's his name from Deerfield? Derek Crudup. Okay, he played mop up, a couple of times, but he's only 6'1", with the average-ish arm. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But I'm gonna let you bring in X because he's been sitting here listening to us talk.
Yeah.
I'm trying to,
yeah.
throw
Let me
X up and see what the homeboy over there got to say.
Mr. Caneville himself, the one who pretty much interviews every big name high school recruit, especially in South Florida. If you guys have not checked it out, he just interviewed Shamar Stewart, who is the #1 player in the nation over on Caneville Footballville on YouTube X. Thank you so much for joining us again today. Hey man, let's go to you with the running backs, man. What are your thoughts on the running backs? Obviously we all know that Cam Harris is going to be the #1 guy, but you talk about a 2 and 3 punch, man. You got 2 freshmen in Don Chaney and Jalen Knighton who are expected to do very huge things. I know John Chaney, when he first arrived, was battling a little bit of injuries, but as we all see, he has gotten over that, and he has actually done tremendous things in practice. What's your takes on the running backs this year, and how do you see that handling out?
Our running back depth chart is excellent. We haven't had this much talent at running back since. I tweeted it, and everybody laughed at me, and I say since Clinton Portis, Gore, and McGahee. Like, you took Clinton Portis out, you put Frank Gore in, the running back still go. Same with Willis McGahee. The thing is, now our offense is tailor-made for each one of the running backs. Don Chaney came from granted he came from a wing team, but every camp he goes to, he's the best running back out the backfield. So with Chaney and Knighton, you're not missing anything when you take Cam out. You know what I'm saying? The one thing I would say is Chaney's body is built for NFL. His body is built for football. Because you see his body, he's built to get hit and bounce. You know what I'm saying? Bounce off that tackle and keep going. Knighton he's a home run hitter. For sure.
I see Chaney very similar to we talk about a team that we're playing next week in UAB, but you look at a guy like Spencer Brown. Spencer Brown is a power running back who bounces off of tackles. I know we're going to get in the defense shortly, but I think one of the things I've definitely that stood out to me in that UAB game was a lot of missed tackles, and I think that's something that the Miami Hurricanes definitely need to make sure that they do week 1, and that's something that Miami has kind of struggled on at the beginning of the year every year, and that's missed tackling, being able to know your assignment and play fundamental football. And I think that's
the first game of the year, man, is always sloppy. It's gonna be sloppy. Guys gonna be excited. They haven't been they've been hitting each other, so they're gonna be excited to hit somebody else. But from the film the footage that I watched from practice, I don't know. I don't even want to get excited. It just don't look the same as it looked the previous 2 years. It looked totally
100%.
It looked totally different. Like you can see it like in their eyes. Everybody focused. Like I keep telling people, I say, man, the young kids we brought in, the true freshmen, they're pushing to play. Yeah. So when you got a true freshman saying, hey man, you slip up, I'm finna play, and you ain't getting your job back. Now you got them upperclassmen saying, I gotta get it. You know
exactly. It seems like the last class and then this class that just brought in the past 2 class, they're built a little different. It seems like every single one of them have that DJ Dallas mentality, and not just a few. It seems like everyone is bought into that culture. They're all they're all in. They're all in. They don't. All they want to worry about is football. They want to do their job. And I mean, you talk about Rhett Lashley, who's going to lay out a game plan to where it's going to be so easy for these kids.
Lashley offense. He came and just rejuvenated the whole team, the whole program. As some of you may know, the old offensive coordinator Dan Enos was nobody really liked him. The players didn't like him, fans didn't like him, parents didn't like him. Lashley comes in, and you can just immediately see from the recruitment, just off recruiting alone, well, now players saying, hey, now we want to go to UM because they got an offense that we could play in.
Yep.
And that goes on both sides of the ball. You know what I'm saying? Even defensive players saying, why would I want to go there when the offense can't do nothing? You know what I'm saying? We gonna be on the field most of the time, and we gonna be in the game that's 17-13. Who wants to do that? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So he brought in a new system, and he rejuvenated the whole program.
Definitely. And you talk about rejuvenation, man. One position that we didn't have to rejuvenate ever at, and that's the tight end group. So I want to go to John. John, we talk about tight ends, and there's no position in any college like Miami when it comes to tight ends. We are tight end U. It's proven. What do you expect from the tight ends of Brevin Jordan and Will Mallory, and even some of the younger guys, a guy like Larry Hodges, who I think is going to be perfect for this offense? What's your take on the tight ends and what you expect from them?
I think it's going to be a monster year out of both of those guys. I mean, think about it. Brevin Jordan had 35 catches and almost 400 yards in an archaic offense. And I was going to piggyback on what X was talking about with the coaches. When's the last time Miami's had a coach that was really relatable to the players? I guess you could say Manny on the defensive side was one, but that was it. We've never had really a cohesive unit like we've had today. But I could see Brevin Jordan this year going 55, 60 grabs, 700 yards, 7 or 8 touchdowns. Will Mallory chipping in another 30 grabs, 300 to 400 yards, 3 or 4 touchdowns. Larry Hodges, when he gets opportunities, maybe an extra 15 grabs. You add that up, you're talking about 95 to 100 grabs out of the tight end position. Kyle Pitts can kiss my ass if he thinks he's better than Brevin Jordan. The kid, Trey McKitty, ran away from Florida State and went to Georgia. Stop it. You'll see 10 grabs at Georgia. Brevin Jordan's the best tight end in college football, whether Pat Fryermuth would have played or not at Penn State. He is a mismatch that has been grossly underutilized for a couple of years, and it's frustrating. Think about some of the great teams, and I know we got Willie Smith kid Chase committed. Go back to 1984, even 1983 with Glenn Dennison in the national championship game. Glenn Dennison, Willie Smith, whether it was Rob Chudzinski. Obviously, we know the guys from Bubba Franks and Shockey and Kellen Winslow and all of those guys. Miami, when they had a great tight end, would flat out exploit you with the tight end position. And I think now with an offense that's going to spread you sideline to sideline, and Ro can talk about that even better than I can, you go sideline to sideline where now you potentially get Jordan flexed out in a one-on-one matchup with a linebacker, or Mallory flexed out with a safety who's going to be too small. Those kids in the middle of the field should be able to eat.
Before I go to my brother Marsh with the wide receivers, one more thing I want to ask you, John. A lot of Miami Hurricane fans, they're a little worried because we don't have that number one receiver. We don't have that big wide receiver target who's going to be able to go up and get the ball. What's your expectations on a guy like Will Mallory this year? Well, I think he is going to be someone that's going to be able to be used like that.
Yeah, I think Mallory could be a guy, jump ball in the end zone. Anybody that's worried about that, go look at James Prochet, who put up 111, 1,200 plus yards last year for SMU. He was a 3-star recruit that nobody gave a damn about, and now he's in the NFL on the Baltimore Ravens. You don't have to be the biggest in this offense. I don't need 6'5" T. Higgins in this offense. I don't need Justin Ross. What I need from Will Mallory, catch the god doggone football in the red zone. When the ball hits you in the hands, come down with it. He catches a ball against Florida, we win. He catches the ball against North Carolina, he wins. But I laughed. I forgot who I was talking with, and they were like, you know what? If we win those games, Dan Enos is probably still the offensive coordinator. So it's probably good that Will Mallory dropped some balls and Bubba Baxter's sorry ass can't outkick me.
Marsh, my man, we have always been talking about wide receivers when it comes to Miami. I know that is one position group you are very excited for. Like I just mentioned, we don't have that true number one guy. But like John just mentioned, you don't need that true number one guy in this offense. A lot of guys are going to eat. You look at SMU's numbers last year in the receiving group, they had at least 5 to 6 guys that were catching 40 to 50 receptions or more, which our number one receiver last year barely got that. What are your expectations in the wide receiver group, and who do you think is going to be the 3 starting wide receivers?
3 starting wide receivers. I'm going to go with Mike Harley, Pope, and Wiggins for right now. Maybe Peyton gets in there. I think you can go a few different ways there. I think a lot of people are excited about the wide receivers because of the system that we're in. It makes it a lot more simple for them. You know, it utilizes their speed, everything like that. But I also think a lot of people are, they question the wide receivers and they're a little bit nervous about the wide receivers, and rightfully so. Mark Pope, he has to, make it happen this year. D. Wiggins, he has to be more consistent this year. Jeremiah Payton needs to, make that next step. And Mike Harley just needs to put it all together and be more consistent. I think a lot of pressure is on those 4 guys, especially with the true freshmen coming in, and especially with the way that, Lashley likes to use up to 6 receivers in his rotation. But But I mean, you see, Cam's boy Keyshawn Smith ball. Xavier Restrepo's been balling. Michael Redden's been playing good. So, but I am I'm very confident in the wide receivers, not just because of Lashley's system. I really love the hire of Rob Likens. I think that is going to pay dividends. He's produced 2 first rounders in a row, which is incredible. And I think that it's going to help guys like Pope and Wiggins and those guys. So I'm very excited about the wide receivers. I'm not worried that we don't have that number one guy. I think that we're going to miss the leadership quality of a KJ Osborne. But I think Mike Harley fits perfectly into that role. So, Harley's going to lead them by example, and it's just up to guys like Pope to get it done. Like it's his year. Like he has to do it.
Definitely, man.
Go ahead, Brad, can I piggyback on Marsh? Like, what's frustrating for me is you have all these local guys, Pope and Wiggins and Harley, and you just mentioned that we're going to miss the leadership of somebody like KJ Osborne, who came from Buffalo, who wasn't even a local kid in our system, and we're looking at that as our leadership. That's where I'm hoping, like someone like Mike Harley steps up and takes the reign as the leadership of that wide receiver group, or Pope or Wiggins. We just need somebody local, not like a grad transfer or something like that, to bring leadership into our program.
Or even a guy that is actually grew up in Miami, a Miami born and raised.
Correct.
And you look at this next class coming in, we have a lot of those guys that are going to fit that mold. When you talk about that, I mean, our last guy that had that Miami heart was DJ Dallas. And again, another kid who's from Georgia. He's not from Miami, but he grew up a Miami fan, and he knows what it takes to put that U on his helmet and put it done the right way.
Same with
But you know who?
Braxton
You were
Berrios.
going to say Braxton. And again, a lot of people don't give a lot of credit to Travis Homer, but Travis Homer was literally a leader, but a quiet leader. He led by example on the field. And again, that was one of the local, again, he's from Palm Beach. Yep. But again, we do get these out-of-state kids or, out-of-area kids who come in here and they become leaders. And that's not how it should be. It should be your local product. The kids from, the 561, 954, 305, they're the ones that need to step up. And John, I just want to touch on something. You talked about the tight end, man. You forgot about Mondell Fulcher. Like, that was my dog back in the days.
And I forgot about Coleman Bell as well. Coleman Bell, man, when I say go back and watch the 91 game, or it was the 92, the 91 or 92 game against FSU. He makes a catch on a third down that Gino Toretta misses him by 5 yards and comes down with it. Coleman was like a 215-pound tight end that worked perfect in those offenses. But, yeah, Mondell Fulcher was a monster. He had a great game against UCLA in 98. But, yeah, I'm remiss. I forgot all about that guy. I want to mention something. You guys talking about leadership there for a second. I disagree that it has to be a Miami guy. Let's think about it. Jesse Armstead was a leader. He wasn't a Miami guy. Ray Lewis was a leader. He wasn't from Miami. Warren Sapp was a leader. They weren't from Miami. This year's leader is De'Aaron King. De'Aaron King has the gravitas to get people to rally around him. And I think Manny Diaz said something very telling this week where he said the makeup of this team is different. Think about the immaturity that we've had in the quarterback room for, Brad Kaya was a mature guy. Malik Rozier spent too much time worrying about what fans were saying about him. Nkosi was too busy making porno. Jaron Williams wanted to get the stick icky. We got a kid right now that wants to win football games, and we have needed that in the worst way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm gonna give it to my co-host Paul. Paul, take over, man.
Yeah, when I spoke with Damon Sales covering SMU football the past season under Rhett Lashley's offense, he told me, offensive line, is the core to the successful offense. We are going to be going up tempo. We're going to be going very fast. Offensive line unit was god awful. We're probably the worst offensive line unit in all of the Power 5 conferences. Cam, what's the expectation for this offensive line group moving forward? I feel like we can only get better. We can only go up. Are you expecting a better season? And what's your ideal starting lineup?
Yeah, I'm expecting a better season. And to be fair, Florida State's offensive line was worse than ours. But that's about the one. And honestly and truly, I know Florida State fans are probably watching this, listening. It's like, oh, you just want to – look, y'all know how bad it was. And as bad as ours was, yours was worse. Facts. But, I mean, yeah, the only place to go is up. And the scheme is going to help them, hopefully. And there's blue chip talent all up and down this, roster at offensive line. It hasn't done much because I think that obviously we're playing guys earlier than we should be and having them do things that they're not good at. And you see that on the field. So that's been a little bit of a pain. But you add Jared Williams, who has 30-something games experience from Houston, blocking for De'Aaron King. So he's going to solidify that right tackle slot. I'm not really tied to any particular 5. I just want that 5 to be the 5 and then do work. So, there are guys who seem to be, making moves. We heard, Ousmane Traore at guard making a move he wants to start. John Campbell's in there. Obviously, DJ Scaife. A bunch of guys are trying to, be in that top group. And, hey, that's perfectly fine. But to me, I'm less concerned with the names of those 5 than whatever 5 it is being able to do that job. You know what I mean?
And I think the fact that we're finally starting to see some legit competition in the offensive line, and we're starting to finally get some depth. We're not getting just guys with the names on the back of their jersey and they're 6'6" and they're just fluff. They're just sitting there like a Tom Kennedy. We actually have legit guys at left tackle, left guard. We even have one of our best offensive linemen who is sitting out this year.
He's a freshman All-American, 3 years ago. So if you want to talk about guys with pedigree, that's Navon Donaldson, if anybody's wondering. This is a guy who's a freshman All-American. Sure, he's coming back from injury. Yeah, he needs to lose some weight to ease some of the pressure on his knees and things like that. But, you take a guy who's performed to that level and you sit him out this year, obviously, to get better and things like that. And you're probably not going to miss a beat because he was injured, because he was a little overweight and things. And, again, you still have guys. Look, we haven't said word the first about 1, 2, 3, 4 different blue chip offensive linemen in this room. And none of us have spoken any of those names in anything that we've already said. So there is a talent there. And I think that the scheme is going to probably help them, which it seems like Roman wants to add about.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Roman.
Thank you. See, that's why we're left side, because I knew exactly where he was going. And I was just going to go ahead and piggyback right on that. 34 less sacks, gentlemen, 34. University of Miami last year gave up 51. If you do the math and you subtract 34, SMU gave up only 17 sacks. You don't think system matters? You go ahead and you give Miami talent, their offensive line, and just play like a Freaky Friday type of game and give them all over to SMU. Guess how many sacks they have? Probably 17 sacks. That's all they have. When your quarterback's not holding the ball, you guys know that I go in and I break down video. It's just a hobby of mine. I love to do it. You've probably seen me do it a time or two on the timeline. The thing that I've watched over and over last year with Dan Enos was just putting guys in positions that they should never be in. You talked about Navon Donaldson. Go back and watch the UNC game. He's having them reach across just to sell some play fake on some 9-tech defensive end. He was never going to get there. You want Zion Nelson going ahead and trying to pass drop 17 steps as your quarterback does a gun 7. I can promise you we're not living in gun 7 this year. When you get rid of the ball, that's quick. And now to even piggyback right there to the X about number 4. Listen, number 4 in the scrimmage game, and I can't say how the espionage happened, but I saw his run, his breakout touchdown run. First of all, we should all applaud a young gentleman because the person at left guard who sprung that was Zion. So good for you. Great job. I haven't seen a number 4 run away from a Miami Hurricane defense that fast since it was in garnet and gold, and his name was Dalvin Cook. We have a home run back. You want my personal opinion, what group is going to benefit the most? And it's not even close. It's the offensive line. And I want to remind all the viewers at home, regardless of what you say, we never had the talent. And I defended those kids left and right. I said, it's the system. It sucks. We've had more talent the last 10 years go to the NFL than Clemson. Look it up. I've already done the research. We have more NFL offensive linemen than the ACC people who are winning national championships. You
got the highest paid center and Brandon Linder. I mean,
thank you.
You got
it's not even close.
Buffalo.
It's not even close. We have put more.
Yes.
You got guys like Feliciano still in the league. You got guys like Eric Flowers who, he can't play left tackle anymore.
But he got paid.
Fine. Cool. Move him inside the guard, running over people, road grader, got paid. Well, you got dudes. Jason Fox was in the league forever. Eric Winston was in the league since forever and a day, and he came here as a tight end.
Definitely. And
Just
before
and people talk about, oh, you know, the McLaughlin kid, you know, he's not going to be able to do whatever. Same thing. Look, just give him a couple mango seasons to develop, and then he could maybe be in. I mean, okay, maybe Eric Winston, that might be over the ceiling, but you know, that transition has happened.
Go ahead.
You know, the funny thing too. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, X.
Before Centrell Henderson got sick, he was the top. You know what I'm saying? Top offensive lineman
for sure
for his first 2 seasons. So
you know, and
we
Cam,
have been putting that talent.
You know, Cam, you talk about the O-line, man, and as excited as I am about the O-line this year, because someone asked me, I think it was last week, about what is my biggest, who am I like most excited to see this year? And I'm excited to see the O-line because of how bad they have been. I'm excited to see how they do progress, but not even the O-line this year. I'm looking at the kids coming in next year. And I brought this up on a show the other day, and Brad, you touched on this a little bit earlier in the show. These young cats, they're coming for the upperclassmen's throats. They want to come in. They want PT. They want to show why they're coming to the University of Miami. They want playing time. And it's not just, oh, I'm not going to wait for I'm a sophomore or a junior. I'm coming in as a freshman. And that goes back to the depth problem, right? We never had, the last few years, we never had opportunities where younger kids will push the upperclassmen to take that job. And I think now, the last couple of years, you're starting to see with the depth coming in. And that was the biggest problem with our linebackers. We had injury after injury after injury. So we had to play who we had to play because that's all we had.
Definitely.
Now, these young kids, they're coming for throats, man. And I'm excited for that.
But you see, I mean, in the past, it's been one guy here and there. It's been a Travis Homer. One, you know, the one dude that, you know, one person every once in a while. But yeah, man, you know, we're getting to the point where we're stacking these blue chip classes, you know, with 50 and 60 and 70%, you know, blue chip recruits, and they're coming to ball, just like you're talking about. I mean, look at all 4 freshman wide receivers doing number. Each one of them, and well, actually Daz hasn't, but 3 of the 4 in the scrimmages have done big numbers. You talk about both running backs. Numbers. You talk about Avery Huff last year. Okay, we held him out for a couple of reasons or whatever, but he was doing numbers and could have easily taken snaps. You look at guys at defensive end. Jabari Harvey has not seen any parts of a red shirt because he's out there and now he's looking like, you know, a freak. Like he's going to, you know, be. And coaches are saying that he's even more athletic than Jalen Phillips and Gregory Rousseau.
Before we get to the defensive side, Miss T just brought up this. We talk about offensive linemen, we talk about development, and we talk about big. We all saw these offensive linemen, how their development under the Feely effect. And man, you talk about Zion Nelson, what he has transformed into. Props to Feely, man. You talk about Jalen Phillips and what he's gotten into. Props to Feely, man. We are finally starting to get depth as far as talent, and now they're starting to look like SEC type of offensive line. This is exactly what we needed. Go ahead, X.
Hey, I wanted to piggyback on what I was saying about the depth. One thing I noticed, and it's been going on since you can start from back in the days when Al Golden got the job. I noticed. When we got Duke Johnson, we didn't recruit a top running back after Duke Johnson. It was like, okay, well, we're going to recruit average backs to come in and sit behind Duke Johnson. Yep. What Manny Diaz is doing is we just recruited Knight and Cheney. Now we got Thad Franklin to come in, who's another good back. So now they recruiting players who can come in and push immediately. Not saying I'm finna sit.
Right.
That whole atmosphere right there, like we were talking we did the interview with Najee Davenport. He was like, man, the practices was so hard that the game was so easy.
Definitely.
It was like,
and you talk about, I mean, we're talking about you're talking about that, but with the offensive linemen, you talk about depth and development. We just had a true freshman in Zion Nelson who didn't look like an offensive lineman. He looked like a tight end, and he was starting left tackle every single game, had to go against probably one of the best defensive lines in the country. And we are not a suited offensive lineman team to begin with. We put kids in the wrong position, and there aren't many teams in the country that are starting true freshmen at offensive line unless you're Alabama or Clemson, a guy like Evan Neal.
We started 2.
And we started 2. So now you're talking about depth. We have guys like Ja'Kai Clark, Zion Nelson, who are in their second year and might not start this year. You got a guy like Jalen Rivers and Isaiah Walker in their first year. We are finally starting to create depth. You got guys coming in behind them like Ryan Rodriguez and a few other guys. This is where we're finally starting to see what is going to blossom behind that. But now we go into the biggest position group on the football team, obviously the strongest position group, and that is defensive line. When you look at defensive line, we lost our best player on the football team, which is Greg Russo, but we are still plenty deep. And when you look at the team that we are going to be playing on Thursday in UAB, I looked and noticed one thing in that UAB game this past week, and that quarterback, Tyler Johnson, if there is any pressure on that guy, he fumbles, he crumbles. You look at his stats last year, he was second in college football in most turnovers in college. I don't see Jafari Harvey, Jalen Phillips. If these guys get any pressure on a guy like Tyler Johnson, I see the turnover chain coming out plenty of times on Thursday. Let's go with Marsh right now with the D-line. You haven't talked in a minute. What's your thoughts on the D-line? What do you see it shaking out? And who are some names that we aren't talking about that could potentially step up?
Well, I think if there was one position group where we could afford to lose a guy like Greg Rousseau, like it would be defensive line, where we can keep going on and not really skip a beat. Obviously adding Quincy Roche, he has veteran experience. He has performed well. He performed well at Temple, and he's already doing well at Miami. Jalen Phillips, he looks like the damn Terminator, after working with Feely, and we're all hearing great things from him in practice. Jafari Harvey is dominating. I think the biggest question mark is going to be with the tackles, just like how this is going to be a very big year for Mark Pope. It's going to be a very big year for Nesta. Yes. He's healthy now because last year he suffered an injury during fall camp, but he's healthy now. And we're all waiting for him to become that guy that we all thought he could become when we recruited him. Having a guy like John Ford who has starting experience is going to help. And then who's going to be the next DT to step up? Is it going to be Jordan Miller? Is it going to be, Harrison Hunt? So there's players there that we keep hearing about. We keep hearing Jordan Miller has so much potential. He's going to ball. It's time for it to actually happen. So,
sure.
And I think we're completely fine. Yep. But defensive tackles it's not a position of concern, but a lot is riding on them, and I don't think enough people are talking about the D tackles. So
for sure, and I think the depth alone is going to help being able to rotate many guys into where we're always fresh. Another thing, talking about UAB, I mean, obviously it was their first football game, but a lot of those guys looked a little out of shape to where that third quarter hit and they were a little winded. You put that in the Florida humidity and you're going against fresh defensive linemen, play after play after play. I mean, you talk about two guys that a lot of people aren't mentioning, Cam Williams and Harrison Hunt. Mm-hmm. Those are going to be two guys that you're going to get very familiar with coming soon. Those are going to be two guys that are going to make a name for themselves in the next year or two. And like you said, man, we got so much depth. X, you're a guy with linebackers, man. You know all about the linebacker group. You talk about expectations and what we expected. One thing we did not expect, at least most Kane fans, was a guy like Brad Jennings to step up after injuries. We talked about young guys like Avery Huff and Sam Brooks, but it's starting to seem like maybe, just maybe, a guy like Bradley Jennings could take that second spot. Who do you think is going to be the starting linebackers? Me personally, I think we are getting to that point where we have so many diverse linebackers to where it's going to be depending on who we are playing against. You look at a team like UAB, they're very run heavy. So I think a guy like Bradley Jennings and McLeod would probably be better suited than a guy like Avery Huff or Sam Brooks that's better in pass situations. What do you think?
Yeah, them the two starters I got so far, Bradley Jennings and McLeod to go back to his natural spot. And then you have Brooks and Huff coming off the bench. Then you got Steve. Now, our linebacker room is we got depth in our linebacker room. It's not just depending on Brooks and Huff. Now you got McLeod and Jennings and Steve. And Jennings actually, like, the footage I've seen on him, like he shocked me. Like, I'm like, wow, like he don't look like he got hurt. He looked like he was the player that we recruited out of high school. So yeah, got him, and then everybody know how vocal I love Huff. Huff is my guy. Huff, like, you could put Huff at striker, you could put him at the wheel. Huff is my guy. He could cover. He could come down and hit.
And one thing I like, before I cut you off, X, one thing I like though is that the reason why Bradley Jennings and Steed stepping up, not only does it bring more depth, but it brings a little bit more maturity. Guys who are used to playing in football games. You talk about Avery Huff and Sam Brooks, they're still a little young. So one thing I worry about is little misassignments here or there. Being able to look and see how it's done with guys like Bradley Jennings and Steed, they're starting to have more mentors, which is something that we obviously had the past 4 years with guys like McLeod, Pickney, and Shaq. That was one thing that I was afraid of that we were going to be missing if guys like Steed and Jennings weren't able to perform. But now that they're able to do that, I think that brings another thing to the table. Ro, what you got, bro?
Oh, no, I was just listening to – I mean, the thing at linebacker that we didn't see last year that I think we're going to see this year, we're faster, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are faster. And I think a lot of this changed. You got to go back when we kind of, fell off in that ACC championship game against Clemson. We got exposed, and we got exposed on the perimeter, and they kept hitting us. They kept isolating our guys on the perimeter. We didn't have the foot speed that necessarily, and the very next year we went to that 4-2-5. You could call it a 4-3 all you want to. You're going to release it in the ACC, guys. It's a 4-3. It's a 4 BS. It's a 4-2-5. And your linebacker that comes down is your striker, right?
Yep.
And now you have linebackers that have the foot speed. And here's my homework, because it's me, the X guy, X's and O guy. He's X. I'm the O, right? X's and row. But we're going to do a lot of cover 3 match. I have a feeling it's a nasty defense to play against. And for those who don't know exactly what it is, it means your back end could be in coverage. There could be in zone. But you have the linebackers that can go ahead and match up to the number 3 wide receiver based on the pass strength. They're going to attach, and they're going to run with them. So you're going to see like Huff, right? 25 yards downfield, potentially guarding against a corner route, and they're okay with it. And I'm okay with it too.
As long as it's not a DN, right?
Yes. Sometimes there's nothing around it. Depends on if you're on an odd or an even. I never fall into that one. Sometimes if your guy's on the odd end and he's the linebacker DN and they just catch you right, you don't want it to happen a lot of times, but sometimes based on your coverage, you have no other choice. But you're going to see these linebackers running with wide receivers a time or two. And you know what? God bless them.
Go ahead, Cole.
So you mentioned something just a little bit ago. I mean, if you look at someone like Sam Brooks, who's put on roughly about 30 pounds from last year, and if I'm not mistaken, like with Jennings and Steed, like Brooks, I think has played almost just as much. I mean, those two kids have been hurt their whole career here at the University of Miami. Mm-hmm. So when you look at somebody like Sam Brooks, like I am not saying that he's not going to be a starter. I think he has probably, besides him and Huff, I think both of those guys have the potential to be absolutely studs and potential All-Americans. Again, you also have Ryan Rigoni, who played, a little bit last year as a walk-on. Don't forget about Corey Flagg, Tyreek Austin Cave. Like and that's what we keep talking about, the depth, right? Yep. Now we finally got 8-9 linebackers who literally can play. And I've said this in my show on another show too. I don't care what class you are. University of Miami, in order to win, you have to play your best players at all times. I don't care if that means special teams. Again, we go back to the 01, 02, and you got people like Ed Reed, who's on your, punt coverage, your kick return, Sean Taylor's. Like, you take your ballers and you play them regardless. That's how you're going to win in University of Miami. You don't put on your, Danny Dominguez's and, all these other cats that, you know what, you're on the team, I'm going to put you on kickoff coverage. No, like, play your ballers, man. You know what I mean? Like, don't give sympathy because they're on the team. It's like handing out little trophies now to kids for participations. No, you got the U on your helmet. You're gonna play. No, that's not how it works. Like, you play to win the game.
For sure. And every so far, every position that we have broke down so far, we have depth. But this next position is probably the position out of every other position that we are lacking maybe the most depth or bodies, and that is cornerback. Mm-hmm. Cam and Roman, I want y'all to split this up. I want both of y'all's takes on this. What are y'all's takes on
me in the chat?
What are y'all's takes on the cornerback position? We obviously know a guy like Al Blades is taking over that one spot on one side. Who do you guys think is going to be the second guy on the other side and potentially the slot corner? What's your thoughts on both of that? I'll go with Ro first.
I'll just take on the opposite side, and then I'm going to go ahead and segue to my left side partner in camp. I think Ivy. He was the center of attention for wrong reasons last year. I mean, Georgia Tech kind of comes and rings a bell, especially on a punt return. Hey, I don't listen. Accidents happen. Don't let it beat you twice. But you know what? That's what happens when you go out there and you don't have depth and you're running out some inexperienced guys, right? So just to kind of go back a segment to the linebackers, the one thing, you got some new guys that are starting. I just think early on, just give them a little time to gel because I think they're going to miss a couple gaps. You get amped up. Yeah. That's what happens with young linebackers. But back over to the DBs. I think Ivy's going to go ahead and get the second spot opposite of my boy from the STA. Cam?
It should be DJ Ivy on the other side and then Corey Couch in the slot. I would say, and Corey Couch, I think, has the best pure cover skills of any corner on the roster, but he's tiny. I'm sorry. I mean, he's what,
160 pounds?
Exactly. Well, I'm talking, he's small and thin. He's 5'8", 5'8.5", 160 pounds. I mean, you can't not have somebody that size be your number one corner. You just cannot.
He looks like, he looks like Brad. I mean, it is what it is.
Exactly, pocket size, but if you put him in the slot, then that's where obviously Miami's seen some receivers have mismatches recently,
right,
from the interior of the opposing offense. So if you put Couch in there, I think that fits his skill set. Sure, you have that cornerback swagger where you want to be the number one, you want to be on the outside on the island and everything. But again, your pocket size. So put him inside. It should be DJ Ivy. If you're talking about that, those pictures from the weight room of Jalen Phillips, who used to look like a skater boy and now he looks like a beast, and
Ivy
Zion Nelson transforming his body. Yo, DJ Ivy, bro, he has some pythons for arms, yo. Those, Buddy's been doing he looks the prototype at cornerback.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Roman said, he was unfortunately not always where he needed to be from a skill standpoint or just a mental standpoint last year. You had a couple of breakdowns, and it was not just that Georgia Tech game, but that game was probably the worst one that he played last year because they took him up top and scored on him a couple times. Pedro Velez, Couch is listed at 5'9", 175.
He's not
yeah. He's not 5'9".
Yeah.
If you go back and look at the team last year, Bandy's 5'9", and he was taller than Couch. Look, facts are facts. You can go far by being short. Look at Darren Sproles in the NFL. Look at guys on Bob Sanders. NFL Defensive Player of the Year was 5'7.5", 5'8". It's okay. You can do that, but we're going to be real about that. That's all I'm saying.
Cam, let me ask you a question. Like you brought up the mental breakdowns with Ivy last year. How much do you put on a kid and how much do you put on a coach?
I mean, it has to be both. And I'm not in the room with them. I'm not in practice to say, okay, how was it addressed and everything, things like that. But I mean, you got to know what you're doing on the kid side. So you got to study your playbook. You got to study your tendencies and take the coaching that you're given. And again, especially with younger people. And I mean, look, I was a teacher for almost 20 years. I get it. Sometimes you can come at them in a way where they become defensive. And they say, even in a coaching standpoint, man, I'm not going to listen to this, man. Whatever. Hey, I got scored on. Like, whatever. Every cornerback ever has gotten taken up top. All right, I'll be all right. I'll do my thing. But then you're actually missing the area of growth that was really necessary. And then it happens again. I'm not saying that did happen. I'm saying that could be something that happened. So it's not a zero-sum game. It's not one or the other. It's on the coaching staff because obviously whatever they were doing or whatever Rumpf was saying or Bond or whomever it was to get through to him didn't work. And it's also on the kid because whatever he was doing to develop or close those gaps of mental errors or just errors in positioning during a play or based on the scenario of what the offense is doing, it didn't work. So it was on both sides.
Absolutely. And before we let John go, John, what is your take on the striker position? Who do you like at striker? Is John still there?
I don't think he's there anymore.
Okay, no worries. Let's go to somebody else. Let's go to Marsh. Marsh, striker position.
I've been telling people all off season to watch out for Gilbert Frierson. I really like his skill set. I think he's really athletic, but I also really like
Corey.
I think all right. Okay.
Corey.
Keontre.
Keontae, yeah, sorry.
I know they're battling now in practice. I'm excited to see both those guys. I think Keontae Smith is going to surprise a lot of people, but I also think Frierson will as well. I think they're both more athletic than Romeo was. I'm
gonna go with my guy.
You want to go, Kim?
I agree with my guy.
Saying,
Cam
I need to be like Marsh. I'm putting them 4s up for Keontae Smith at striker, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I've been over here doing. Like
Keontae's the perfect mold for that striker position, man. He's coming in nicely, and me personally, I want to see what are they going to do with a guy like Amari Carter? What are you? I want to ask everybody this because it seems like a guy like Amari Carter is getting lost in all of this, right? He's a guy that's very similar to maybe a Romeo Finley who kind of moved around in different positions. Amari Carter, where do y'all see him fitting in all this?
Pretty much anywhere. I think he can play pretty much anywhere you put him. I mean, again, he's got the size, and he's not afraid to come out and punch you right in your fucking mouth.
Yeah,
you know, and that's what we've been missing too. Like, when's the last time we've had someone just come up and laid a fucking wood on somebody?
You can blame the NCAA for that.
But Amari Carter his freshman year,
he just got kicked out of the game.
Yeah, but I mean, I agree with Cole. Like, he's a guy, Amari Carter. He's Bubba Bolden is more. I think Bubba Bolden is better. But Amari Carter has that leadership, that quiet leadership and experience at safety because obviously, Bubba Bolden missed a season and whatever. But definitely. I agree with Cole that if you put him at either safety spot or if you walk him down to striker for a play here and there, there's a spot for Amari Carter. Even if you want to, I don't know who it would be against because I don't think we play anybody with this kind of offense. But if you really want to go hyper speed on defense and put him and Mike backer or outside, whichever backer you want to have run more. You know what I mean? Put him at one of those backer slots. You bring in Keontae at that slot, and then you still got 2 other future NFL players and Bubba Bolden and Gervin Hall at safety. I mean, he's the Swiss Army knife on defense.
Absolutely, man. You just led into the last, almost the last position group, and that is safeties. I want to go with X on this one, man. We keep mentioning my favorite defensive player on the team this year, and that is Bubba Bolden. Me personally, I think Bubba Bolden is going to have a phenomenal year. This is a kid that transferred to us again, like a few other guys, and he literally picked up right where he left off at USC. As soon as he transferred from USC to Miami, you go check those USC boards, and people were crying left and right, man. They knew exactly what they were missing in a guy like Bubba Bolden, and he fits the Miami prototype perfectly. I love the way he carries himself. He's very humble, and he does everything right on the field for the most part. X, what's your thoughts on the safety room?
You got Hall and Bubba Bolden and Carter. I think Roman was saying about you went to the 4-2-5. We're going to have 3 safeties on the field at all times. So Carter might be in at safety, and he'll be playing striker sometimes, but it's not going to be like noted because he's in. You'll think he's at safety, but Bubba Bolden and Hall. Carter to me is like Al Blaze. He gonna hit you. He gonna hit you in the mouth. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And he gonna intimidate you on the field. You need that on the field. Bubba Bolden is probably our most gifted safety we had at UM since
26.
Since Deion Bush, maybe
okay.
But with Hall, if Hall could get under control with his tackling ability and being what, he'll be an All-American because it's like sometimes he was like maybe seconds late from being in the right spot, trying to go for that kill hit instead of saying, let me go get the interception. You know what I'm saying? Both of the safeties, they was their first time starting last year. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we had a very young secondary last year. This year, our whole secondary has a whole year of experience.
Absolutely.
And safety, so we should be in good hands. So.
And you talk about a guy like Gervin Hall, man. You put on that 26 and you're a safety in the orange and green. You better perform well when you wear that 2-6. And that's a guy that I think everybody has very high expectations for. Ro brought up a very good point earlier about the 4-2-5. If people aren't familiar with it yet, you better get familiar real quick because you look at our current class coming in after that, we have nothing but safeties. Right. You got guys like James Williams. You got Cam Kitchens. You got Jalen Harrell on the team right now. I mean, you got 3 or 4 guys they're too good to not be on the field. So
you got Avonte Williams, who's ready to play next year too.
Correct. But we have plenty of safety. And even if a guy like Gervin Hall comes back after this year, you have 5 to 6 guys at safety that can all be on the field at once.
Brian Bowlam.
Brian Bowlam. Yep. Brian Bowlam. Yep. Another one.
Camp up. The other
Absolutely.
guy was
Keyshawn Washington as well.
Keyshawn Washington.
Yep. The other guy who had safety who came from Tampa Yacht, the big tall
Jalen Harrell.
Yeah,
Jalen Harrell.
Yeah, I forgot about him.
Yeah, he's gonna me personally. I'm really good close with his head coach, his former head coach, and I think he's gonna be a striker. I think he fits that mold perfectly. He's a very smart kid. I think he could pick up any position on the football field. I think he just needs a year under his belt to learn everything and get the Feely effect. Once he molds into himself, I think he's gonna be great. I mean, he came from the same high school as Greg Russo, so I think good things are ahead for him. Ro, we haven't got you involved in a little bit. What are your thoughts on the biggest need personally besides the quarterback, and that is special teams? Yeah. Special teams is going to probably be the biggest 180 on the football team this year, personally. What's your take on there?
We said it earlier, if Will Mallory caught a couple balls, maybe we have Dan Eno still as our offensive coordinator. Well, if Bubba Baxter can make some kicks too, we'd probably. The weirdest thing happened with the University of Miami the last 2 years in terms of special teams. They both developed the yips. We had 2 seasons where kickers, guys who actually were in charge of kicking the ball, got the yips, and at their respective position, they were tops, right? Bubba Baxter was like top 3 in the country as a kicker at one point, depending on what publication. Fiegels is the number 1 punter in the country. And, I have a little experience with this because I kind of struggled at times the Chuck Knoblaw disease, where you're like having a hard time trying to throw a ball on the baseball side, never on the football side. And I could recognize it right away. And I knew that once those kids got it, once Baxa was in his head, once Fiegels was in his head, I mean, it was done. There was nothing you could do. They were paralyzed by fear.
That flashback image of Bubba Baxa against LSU, when you saw the picture zoom in, the camera zoom in on him before that field goal,
4 for 10.
Everybody knew he was missing that field goal as soon as you saw it in his eyes.
But you know what? How he could have literally been phenomenal. If you would go back to the water boy, if coach would have told him to visualize, and then he would have had Nkosi as the football, for what happened with his girl, maybe, just maybe, he would have been 100%.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech game sticks out to me, man. I remember we drove down, we got down there, so I know, I'm running to try to get some good footage on the sideline, and I'm like, okay, well, why is Dan Eno's not like trying to get in the end zone? And he's settling for a field goal. And in my head, I'm like, oh my God. I literally walked by Bubba while he was warming up, and he kicking the ball, and it's like, he got 5 yards literally to kick the ball into the net. He kicking the ball outside of the net, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I know he's not finna kick a field goal. Like, go for it. And then as soon as he get on the field, he missed the field goal, man, and I can just see I ain't even gonna mention the players, but it's certain players, they look like they just wanted to run and grab him. And I was like,
go ahead, Ro.
Oh man,
we were handcuffed, and it's very broadcasted that it was the offensive side of the ball. But how hard to play defense on this team when you have a kicker who can't kick and an offense who can't score? I mean, you want to talk about it was insult to injury. I mean, on the punting side of it, to kind of follow up with that, I mean, we did much better. We were 37th in the country last year, and when Fiegels was here, we were 115th. So we righted the ship on that side. Our Aussie can definitely put a charge into the ball. I just want to go ahead and see a kicker, just routinely make kicks. I'm not asking for all of them. Just routinely make
extra
kicks,
points,
right?
And extra points. And I don't want him to look like he is petrified with fear every time he marches out there. And if that could happen, it's a win. I think special teams is going to be a lot more improved in terms of the guys who actually kick the ball. And I'm excited to see, because of the depth, how we're going to do on punt return and kick return, because we got to have some athletes that.
I was just about to get into that.
You put some punt returns and kick returns for touchdowns.
Yep.
Like, literally.
Listen, you put Knighton back there. I think you got to play again. It goes back to you have pure speed and pure talent. Like, why don't and I go back to last year with like Lingard. Like, how come he's not at least if you can't run the ball, at least let him like return a punt or return a kickoff with all the speed. And he was only the only 5-star recruit you had on your team, and you don't even play him except for one play as a lead blocker. Like, that goes back to coaching.
Does anyone? Sorry to interrupt you, Ko, but does anybody know why it took so long to get KJ Osborne involved with our punt returns? It seems like when he was involved, he was very successful, and I felt like if we would have had him in the beginning of the year, we would have, done a lot more damage returning punts.
Jeff Thomas
and PJ were doing it.
Right.
Yeah, he wasn't the sexy pick. At Jeff Thomas. You had Jeff Thomas. You had Mike Harley. Then you had Pope. Neither one. Jeff Thomas did his thing here and there, but the other two did nothing. So it was like, they put in KJ. KJ was the most reliable one.
Right.
You see
and the funny thing is, we had DJ played, punt return for a long time. Like, I don't know why you took DJ out of the equation.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's one of the reasons that he made the roster in the NFL. You've seen him doing that stuff.
I understand why they did DJ, because DJ goes down, we only got Cam.
Correct.
Got one running back,
He meant more on offense, I think.
Yeah, I understand it. I mean, you want to have your best players on the field at all times, but
definitely.
Last year our depth on every position was kind of bad. Like
100%.
And I mean, we spent an hour and 5 minutes now talking about depth in pretty much every position. So I mean, this is the evolve right here, man. Any of those weirdos that are watching right now and you're invested in Pokemon cards, this is the evolution evolve. This is where you go from a Tremillion to Charizard right here, man. We got Rhett Lashley. We got all the guys.
I'm just gonna say, if you're talking about weirdos being invested in these things, I used to read the Pokemon book to my younger nephew when I lived with him my senior year of high school, and you just hit all the evolution chains and everything off the top of the dome. So I don't know if you have the thing to be talking about people as weird when you got the expert kind of knowledge. I'm just saying.
Hey man, that was back in like third grade.
Yeah, Charizard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's like the Michael Jordan of Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
Charizard.
Man, come on, man.
Nah, man, but we talk about special teams, man, and the carousel between we had a quarterback carousel last year and we had a kicker carousel last year. We had multiple guys that were going in and out, and those are two positions that now that we have finally solidified. You got De'Aaron King, who's a leader, and a guy like Borgalis, who's already mature, who's already done this before. I mean, shoot, he beat us at FIU, so I'm glad to have him on board now. You could tell by the way he's kicking in practice. He's a lot more comfortable, man. The way he carries himself, he doesn't carry himself like a normal kicker. He's got a little swag to him. I like that.
You think he got swag? You should see his brother.
Yeah, right. I know. We talk to him all the time.
His brother's swag is on 1,000. Right?
Yeah.
His brother.
His talk game is smooth. His talk game smooth.
Oh man, his talk game is so smooth. Then I see where they both get it from, cause they mama like she like, oh yeah, my son, they been kicking since they was 4 or 5 years old. Like, put them in anything, they're gonna make it. I don't care.
That's a good family right there, man. The Borgalis family, from top to bottom, they good family, man.
Well, we pretty much just broke down the whole depth chart. Obviously, it hasn't been released yet, but we broke down pretty much the depth chart from beginning to end. So now let's break down the team that we're playing. Yeah, let's break down the team and the expectations for Thursday. Like we talked about earlier in the show, we were just 5 days away. I want to get everyone on the Roundtable's score prediction for UAB on Thursday. Let's go with Ko first. What's your thoughts? Score prediction.
I mean, obviously it's the first game. Obviously I want to see points. I think the offense is built for points. But I also want to be kind of like practical as well. So I'm going to go on like 47-10. I think, based on what I saw from UAB, again, they gave up 35, to Central Arkansas. I'll go 47-10.
What about you, Cam?
They did give up 35, but 21 of those were directly off of turnovers. One defense scored for Central Arkansas. The other two were like 6 and 15-yard drives, respectively. And I think UAB can put up some points. But I think that, our offense just has the ability. I think that the scheme is going to really unlock the abilities of the guys that have been held back before. I think we're just going to let them run finally. So for me, I need to see a 40 spot. So I'm going to go, and I think that the defense might waver a little bit. So I'm going to go 41-27.
Wow.
Not even covering the spread.
UAB is a decent squad. UAB can put up some points. So I'm not going to say that 58-3 or 97-2 or anything like that. I think that they can put some things together. So I'm going to go 41-27.
And here's the thing. You mentioned the turnovers thing, and I honestly think that the first game of the season is going to feel a little bit like 2017, where we are going to get a ton of turnovers against UAB. Me personally, they had 28 turnovers last year, which was second in college football. You look at the quarterback and Tyler Johnson, I believe he had 20 interceptions last year, 15, I think. But that's a lot of turnovers for a guy like him. And just based off the first game alone, he didn't look like he got any better. And when he was under pressure, he didn't seem too comfortable. And that's something that the Miami defensive line is definitely going to bring week one. So I'm very excited to see how many times we bring that turnover chain. You mentioned how many points the other team scored on UAB off of turnovers. I think that's something that's going to be very big for Miami week one. X, what do you think?
I'm going to say 45. I think our defense might score twice.
Hopefully.
UAB, they quarterback is a turnover just waiting to happen. Now, can our defense capitalize on it? Because he's going to turn the ball over. Can when UM is good, our defense normally scores points. You know what I'm saying? Takes a lot of effort off the offense, but I would say 45-13. I didn't see anything from UAB to say it should be close. Nothing at all.
I mean,
I just ain't seen nothing.
UAB's play calling was not that bad. I will say that, but you can definitely tell that they only had two playmakers on the football team. They got the ball into Austin Watkins' hands a lot and Spencer Brown. Those were the two key guys. Everybody knew before the game started that those were the two guys to look for, and those were the two guys that got the ball in their hands the most. So I think Miami has plenty of talent, plenty of guys to that caliber to where we can just key in on those guys, those two guys right there, and let the rest of the team kind of do what they can to beat us. I think we're going to blow these guys out. Ro, what do you think?
I think last year only 8 teams in the country out of 130 scored over 40 points a game. And I think you're crazy if you don't think one of the engineers and architects for that SMU offense, mind you being SMU, was able to do that. Only 8 teams. So if you don't think he's putting up a plus 40 spot, go root for another team. I didn't want to go ahead and have this offense for the better part of 10 years to back off it now. Right. They're going to be scoring over 50 points. You want to know why? Because that's how you get your average above it. They're going to come out and drop 52 points, 52-17. I don't give a damn. You finally take Miami players. Finally. You finally put them in a system, in humidity. They're going to bury these punks. It's over. This is like prom night with a virgin. This is Tim Tebow about to release, right? This is Tim Tebow. This is his opportunity to shine. He just married Miss America, Rhett Lashley. Yes. They're going to have a wedding night, and it's UAB's ass, right?
Release the house. Release the house.
Just go put all of them. Just put them out in waves. You got two tight ends. You got De'Aaron King. You got Knighton. These guys are so pent up for the last 10 years playing shitty offense. Let's go. I don't want to hear. Just go.
Kane fans, if that does not get you pumped, I got Marsh that's gonna give it to me right now. Go ahead, Marsh.
Well, last night on the podcast, I predicted 38-13, but after hearing Roe, I'm changing it.
Don't back out. Stick on it, man. Hold to what you said, bro.
I think we're gonna come out I think our players are gonna come out really pissed off, and wanting to prove that this isn't 2019, that this isn't the same shit from last year. And UAB, they're solid on defense, but I really do think it may be close, because first game is always sloppy. It'll be close maybe in the first quarter, first half, but I really see the offense taking off in the third quarter. De'Aaron King running for a couple touchdowns, throwing maybe 3. I'm going to say 45-20.
20. Okay. You think the defense is going to give it
45-13. 45-13.
Okay. Paul, what about you, man?
Yeah, it's going to be the first game of the season. Obviously, we've had a limited time of practice. My earlier score prediction was 33-16. After hearing Roman, I might bump it up to 40-16. I like to keep it where the spread is. But honestly, man, I really think UAB is going to be stuck. This is the first time they're seeing Rhett Lashley in this personnel. First time they're seeing De'Aaron King in a Miami Hurricanes uniform in a Rhett Lashley offense. That's a tough job for the defensive coordinator down at UAB. And their quarterback, he throws INTs left and right. That's why Central Arkansas was able to put up so many points because of short yardage situations they were in. They could score easily. So I think Miami's going to put up a lot of points, but I'm going to stay 40-16.
Yeah.
Well,
I joked around. I joked around on Twitter saying it would be 103. Obviously, it was a joke, but I think it's obviously going to be a blowout as well. I wanted to wait till I got everybody score predictions to ask this. Can we all agree that if we score less than 35 points week 1, that is a disappointment?
No, I don't.
No,
think so.
no.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yes.
It's a big disappointment.
Okay.
Yeah. I said 47-10. Like, listen, if you don't put over 40 points on these kids, there's definitely something wrong. Something wrong.
I want to get Cam's take on this because he seems a little bit in the middle. What's your take on this, Cam?
I mean, you can score 38, which is 5 touchdowns and a field goal, and okay, maybe you have a turnover that keeps you from 45, that touchdown that Marsh was talking about, which is 2 points away from what Cole was talking about. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's margins there. You got to see how the game plays. I don't think it would necessarily be a disappointment. I think that there would definitely be points left on the field now. So there is room for growth if you're scoring 35, 38, under 40 or something. But, I mean, 35 to 38 points, let's call it. That's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's not, hey, you know what, Rhett Lashley, this didn't work. Let's send you on your way, merry way elsewhere. Like, I get it wouldn't necessarily be the happiest thing because we want to see crooked numbers. We want to see that scoreboard change. We've gone through this last couple of years, even 2017 when we went 10-0 with smoke and mirrors on offense for those first 10 games, barely squeaking by, snatching defeat or victory from the hands of defeat few times that year. If you go back and look at the numbers.
Absolutely. And before I get to Roe, because I know Roe wants to say something. You talk about Oh, you're good? Okay. So you talk about expectations, Cam. You talk about expectations, Cam. And last season, I got with somebody on Twitter about this. Unfortunately, last year, Dan Enos was the only guy that had an offensive mind. So when he was doing things wrong, we had nobody to go to him and say, hey, you're doing this wrong. We need to show you what to do. Not to mention, he didn't really call plays. It was a smoke and mirror thing like you just mentioned. Now we have 3 offensive coordinators on the football team. So we have a guy like Rhett Lashley. We got Justice, and we got Likens. These are 3 guys that all put together have called plays before. You're going to see a huge difference.
No, I agree. And it's just when you have, 3 voices in the room, it's not saying that they're equal voices, but just like, hey, we're seeing that this split zone's not working. I remember this one time in Arizona State when I was calling plays when, Arizona stopped our split zone. There's this. So you have that other kind of a thing. And look,
accountability,
but also just another idea. And it's the same thing from when Mark Richt was here because he was the only person who never called plays.
Yeah.
So there was no outside real influence like, oh, I brought Thomas Brown in. He's the offensive coordinator. He's never called a play in his life during a game. You know what I mean? And he wasn't somebody who Mark Richt was going to listen to when he said, hey, coach, maybe this, Thomas, go coach your running backs and call these plays. But now we do have the guy, like, let it be known, Rhett Lashley is the guy. He's going to be calling the plays, but you do have other people with this experience like I was talking about, and they can draw on their experience to hopefully help if things are not going the way that we necessarily think. So, I mean, it does have a little bit with expectations. So for me, again, under 40 points is not what I want, but depending on the situation, and especially with a win, it can be something that can still be positive and we can move forward from.
Speaking
if
of
it's 38, if it's
Right.
38-0, I'll be happy. That's okay.
But speaking of this offense, do you guys want to see the playbook open up week 1, or do you want to see it slowly progress? So we're like halfway through the season.
Go ahead, Ro.
The way that this offense is going to work, he's going to have like his base stuff, right? His base plays when he's going up tempo. It's going to be like a lot of RPOs. It's going to be a lot of the zone reads. He's just going to go ahead, use numbers, get his perimeter guys some space, get the ball out quick. That's what he does. And there was a good question. Are we going to hold? No, just put out the base offense and let it fly. Now, what Rhett Lashley does do, he does get into his bag. Like week to week, they're going to work on like I would say if I'm looking at it when I've been breaking down the film, maybe like 12 to 20, like where he's got it dialed up, ready to go. Hey, this is, if I'm in this situation, I'm dialing up this play. I can remember Memphis, and this is going to make the tight ends happy. He comes out with a unique 12 set. He puts them in spread. They put them on two sides of the field. It looks like it's going to be a screen all day. It's a bubble over the top for a big play. That's when he gets in his bag. That's going to happen all year long. That's going to be case by basis. But the thing that's almost indefensible when I watch Rhett Lashley too is he's got a feel for the game. He's literally on the sideline, and it makes it kind of hard for the analytical people. You know what I'm saying? When somebody's using the Jedi mind trick over there, like, hey, this should work on this call, but he just called something else. It definitely can play in his feet in our favor. So if he's in his bag, he's got the. I just want to see the base offense just shine. And
correct.
I'm just so excited about the fact you just can't cover everything with this offense. There's too much to defend. I've seen too many defenses, and they'll catch you, and they'll catch you wrong. Minus, and let this all sink in, it's going to be hot on Thursday. Yep. It's going to be really hot, and we're going to push the pace to about 70, 80 plays, and we're going to put them into a heat stroke.
And again,
I'm all for it. All for
2014 Florida State game, because you're talking about personnel usage. And in 2014 Florida State, if you remember, we came out with 21, 2 back, 1 tight, and they went heavy on defense. And what did we do? Use that heavy personnel, went 5 wide, hit Clive Walford up the seam for 61-yard touchdown. So you can do just like Roman's talking about. You can hint at one thing from your personnel and do something completely different. And I just gave you a time that the Miami Hurricanes offense did that in a game that mattered and put points on the board with it. Now, everything else didn't necessarily go the way we wanted, but there's an example of that. So Romans give you another thing talking about, yes, we can hint at things with personnel and go other ways with the multiple or the athleticism and the versatility of the guys at the skill positions on this team.
Definitely. And what also helps is simplicity, right? We're breaking this down very simple for these guys where they got to play fast and they're not thinking. Miss T brought up earlier the Miami Heat. I kind of compare Rhett Lashley to a guy like Eric Spoelstra. He builds a game plan and he perfects it. He does not change it until you beat it. That is something that Eric Spoelstra is very known for in the NBA. He perfects one thing and he makes sure that you do not break it until it gets fixed. They're not going to change it. You look at the Miami Heat against the Bucks. They have not changed how they play Giannis and how they play the Milwaukee Bucks because the Bucks have not beat what their game plan is. You look at Rhett Lashley. He's very simple, but he can get in his bag like Rose said. So I think he's going to go simple and make these guys play fast and not think until you are able to dictate that and beat that. And then that's when he's going to go in his bag and full of tricks. X, what do you think?
The biggest question I have, and I got this for since every head coach we had since Larry Coker. Are they going to keep their foot on the gas? Like if we score on 40 points, keep scoring. Stop this old man. Let's just run it up. Like for some strange odd reasons, our last few coaches just take the foot off the gas. I don't know why, but it's just.
But also, I don't think that we had the team to necessarily run it up. And especially, I know the people, if you're thinking back, again, 2017, in those games, we got a lead. And then we went Operation Shutdown, offense got whatever it could get, and we're going to ride that defense. You look back to that Virginia Tech game, that Saturday night, you look back to that Notre Dame game, that was Operation Shutdown, and we had a defensive touchdown, another interception, hey, that's what happened.
You could look at Syracuse. You could look at Virginia.
But that was also because we didn't have the offense that I don't think that we could.
Okay, so but Cam, you just said 2014. Now, 2014.
No, that was 17. Right, but yeah, 14.
I'm saying you just said 2014 when we had James Coley. Now, James Coley was able to run up the score.
Now you're right.
I know numerous games where they took it off the gas. They're like, why did they stop scoring? Like, why halftime come out?
I mean, because you have a conservative coach. You have Golden. So Golden, again, he wanted that off. Our defense ran the way that it did. He wasn't that guy. He wasn't Jimmy Johnson. Run it up, dance in the end zone, get the penalty. I don't care. He wasn't that dude. So you got that lead, and then you get comfortable. And then you get nervous because you're looking over your shoulder because you're worried for your job and all these other kind of things happen.
And now you're watching the clock. You're trying to hope the clock runs quicker than it's supposed to be. Like
I'm trying not to lose. I'm not trying to win.
Yeah. Listen, man, to me, I think you still got to go back and play the same way. Like that 2014 game against FSU, when you put up no points, you come out in the second half and you got to play the same way with the same mentality, the same philosophy you did in the first half, not shut it down. And again, like Jimmy did, he didn't care. Your job was to stop us. It's not our job to stop ourselves. Right. And I think that's where Miami's gotten away from that.
No, I mean, you're totally right, and you got to have that mentality. But I mean, but especially in that 2014 thing, you're talking about, a guy who had never beat Florida State, never did beat Florida State, and that was when Florida State was still Florida State, coming off of a championship. So then you get a little lemon booty, you get a little scared, like, hey, I'm in this rare air. Like, yo, I got the prom queen out on this date. I ain't never been here before. I don't know what to do. I'm gonna say something weird. I'm gonna do something weird, and like I'm in my head about it, and she's over there having a good time. Yeah. So all she wants you to do is be you, have this good time. And you're thinking, oh man, but I went out with this one girl one time, and all of a sudden now you done messed yourself up. And that's the thing where Miami has been. You haven't just done, like X is saying, you haven't done the same thing. James Coley style, Jimmy Johnson style. Run up the score. If they hate, and let them hate, and watch the money pile up. Just let that go. Look, when Frank Gore was a freshman, and he came in the fourth quarter, and we're running 43 or 34 dives, what happened? He took that bitch 70 or 80 yards.
I know my man John isn't on right now, but I'm going to say his quote, and scare money don't make money, and that's exactly what needs to happen this year.
But like you would always do, I mean, even when the old when I was in college, 2004, freshman, Frank Gore, he would come as the number 3, number 4 running back, put up 145 yards and 2 tutties in the fourth quarter because he's out the frame. Because I'm not just going to try to go down on an inside run. I'm juking, I'm spinning, I'm finding the sideline, and I'm going to let that ride. But
because you know why? He knows if he makes that, he knows if he's making that run next week, he's getting more PT.
But none of this team because again, attitude reflects leadership, Captain.
Absolutely.
And these coaches that we've had have not had that fire that we're talking about. They've not had that. They get to that point where they get close to touching or coming close to greatness, and they say, I'm going to now go Operation Shutdown. I'm going to be as conservative as possible to try to have the coasting. So whatever momentum I had, I'm going to try to coast all the way there. You know what I mean? I got a knockdown in the second round of this fight. I'm going to try to coast and win on points. While the other fighter in the other corner is like, nah, I'm going to knock this mug out. Because that's what I got to do. And we had to have that kind of mentality. We had the players for it. These players are dogs. These players want to go score. They want to light everybody up. Come on now.
Hey, listen, I feel like if the coaches had as much passion and desire and drive that some of us have, I think it would be a whole different ballgame. I think the coaches are afraid to get in these kids' faces and hold these kids accountable.
Not anymore, because the 2-0. We got Ed Reed.
I mean, you got some guys, and like, I mean, we were all there for the Notre Dame game. After Notre Dame scored that one touchdown in 2017, and it was pin drop silent during that television timeout afterwards because we're all just like partying, ready to go back into the parking lot. Who was the one coach that you heard on that side, on the entire field? Kulagowski, yelling at the defensive line, calling them MFers up and down because they were stat hunting and they were out of position, and that's the only MFing reason that they scored. And he got in everybody's face. He ended up leaving out. Okay, cool. You get Jess Simpson. He's a good guy. But yo, no, you got to have that same, you got to push sometimes. Right. It's a thin line between like, pushing and being not unsafe with it, but just kind of reckless with it. So you had to like kind of, thread that needle of that zitch, but like you got to do it. And I would like to see more. And I'm going to stop talking because I've been talking a lot. And I know Roman wants to talk, but that's my spiel.
You literally just dunked it on this. Are we going to go ahead and put the plays? You've already dunked. You won the game. It's over. I'm in for garbage minutes on this topic. I'm just going to shoot an open 3. I'm throwing up 2-0-0 to kind of like bolster your claim. That 2-0-0 is the 200 more plays that SMU ran last year. If you think he's going to step on the brakes, you're kidding me, right? He ran 200 more plays than the University of Miami Hurricanes. There is no breaks. If it's 52-3 on UAB, it will very easily be 62-3 if you don't let the time run out in an expedient manner. So this is not an up-tempo offense when it chooses to be. It is the metaphysical. That's what it does. I'm not worried about breaks. You don't average 40 points a game last year being nice. He's not going to be nice. It is your job to stop us.
100%.
End of story. the play count is going to take care of some of these debates, right? The play count, the fact that they run up these play counts is going to put a lot of us at ease, and we're going to see some lopsided scores if you let us, especially if you let us have turnovers. Definitely. Because if you get us and you put us in prime opportunity and we get 2 defensive scores, you mean my offense needs to just basically score like 28 to 30 points and then I'm into the 40s again? Easy.
And 200 extra plays over 13 games is an extra 15 or 16 plays a game. So
Exactly. That's exactly how it breaks down. I know it. It's about 15 extra plays a game. And if you average what they averaged last year and you're easily eating up, you're getting about 100 to 150 more yards a game.
There was only one team in college football that had better offensive stats than SMU, and that was the national champions LSU. There was only one team. One team, that's it. But hey, we talked pretty much everything about the players on the current Miami Hurricanes football team. Let's talk about a few guys that are currently committed in the next class and possible targets. I'm gonna go with Roe on this because he's a quarterback guru. What was your thoughts on a guy like Jake Garcia, first game in Georgia? I know that's a name that my guy Marsh and myself. I know Co's not really big on the Garcia train. What was your thoughts on Jake Garcia, his first game in Georgia?
He obviously killed it. You know, he's got a skill set. He's got a great arm. He just, you know what? I didn't want to jinx it because I got this jinx going on YouTube, right? When I break down a quarterback, he's not coming. So the way I did it, I put him against Milroe. And I knew Milroe was kind of a pipe dream, and he flipped his commitment, and now he's at Alabama. But when I walked away from this, as impressed as I was as Milroe as a runner, I walked away equally impressed as Jake Garcia, the passer. And that's how I kind of left it. I was like, well, one excels in this area, and Milroe's a fine passer too. I just thought Jake Garcia could do it from different angles. He was pretty effortless. He wasn't a bad mechanical thrower. He wasn't a down-up guy. He wasn't taking time. And when he wants to hit the extra gear, he can. Just the athleticism, because the thing is, yeah, I'm not gonna ruin it. Yeah, Garcia to the U. There you go. I'm not rating on Marsh's parade. Garcia to the U.
And I was gonna say, man, me and Marsh talked about this earlier today, man. And it seemed like Jake Garcia, he struggled a little bit at the beginning, but that was only because of his offensive line. It seemed like his offensive line put him in a lot of bad positions, and he actually did his best. And he actually ended up taking his team and getting the W when he was behind pretty much the whole game. I thought he did very well. One guy that did very, very well, a guy that forgets to get mentioned, and a guy that a lot of fans, even me personally, I thought he might get out of the class, and that is Malik Curtis. I want to go with X on this one. Malik Curtis performed amazing, had 3 touchdowns, literally did everything on the football field for his team. What was your thoughts on Malik Curtis? And we once thought he would be a special teams guy, someone like Travis Benjamin. It seems like he's got to be on offense now, right?
Yeah. Speaking with a couple of coaches, he was being recruited as a defensive back, but now it's impossible to say he's defensive back because you need to get the ball in his hand with his speed. I personally didn't think he would last in the class because, as I say, it was 2 defensive backs that I thought we could land, and I think they would have pushed him out. But if he's on the opposite side of the ball, I'm happy. I'm pleased with it because he's fast. Like you just don't. Jimmy Johnson said you just can't teach speed. If he got that type of speed, where he touched the ball, he's gone. I'm happy with it.
I want to give Kane fans a little fantasy. Imagine Brashard Smith, Malik Curtis, Keyshawn Smith, and Jalen Knighton all on the field at the same time. Who in the heck is going to guard them?
Man, you sleeping on Jacoby George too, bro.
Can't name everyone. Our best receiver, our best. Jacoby
I'm
George
just saying, man.
Best route.
Don't forget Romello. I mean, bro, like
Romelo's good. Romelo's great. Romelo is naturally. Romelo is he's a top tier. Like to me, one of the top receivers in the state. But when you see Jacoby George, you just see, you see.
Listen, I'm a Broward guy. I'm a Broward guy, so I ride with them Broward boys. You know what I mean? Like eggs and all them cats.
Yeah, he's a smooth runner. If you throw the ball his way, he gonna catch the ball. It ain't gonna be no interception. He gonna catch the ball. He one of them players. He'll talk to the DB and say, "Man, you can't guard. You can't stick me. I'm gonna catch the ball. They gonna throw it to me. and he'll get in their head and he gonna make a play. He's one of the most gifted receivers I've seen in a long time.
But I also go back to this. Until they sign, you never know what could happen. You know what I mean? Like Miami can have look all this hype that we boosted on Miami, and they come out and have a bad season. Half them cats flipping and going somewhere else anyway. So I
know for a fact. Like George, like when he decommitted, I told people he's not leaving. Like he's a Miami kid. He wants to go to Miami. A few other kids the same way. It was just you get in trouble. Your girlfriend do something bad to you, you might tell her don't call you no more. And then you know what I'm saying, you turn around and call her. So it's like you don't want to see them doing bad, but I ain't gonna leave. I'm gonna help y'all out. You know what I'm saying? Just show some effort. And unfortunately, we went 6-7.
Yeah.
And our effort was off season. You know what I'm saying? Off season, we showed a lot of effort. Well, kids say, "Hey, I'm ready to get back in." So,
speaking of receivers, is Jokeith Brown actively? Is he a priority for this class?
No, obviously not. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know if the staff don't know what position they want him to play, but it's dumb moves to me.
Okay, well then,
here's my thing. Before I cut you off real quick, but we talk about Jokeith Brown. I think another name we need to think about, if we're not going to go after Jokeith Brown, I think Amari Daniels has to be a high priority. I think if you're not going to go after Jokeith Brown,
he is. But Amari Daniels is a running back. Jokeith Brown is not a running back.
I think the problem with Jokeith Brown though is he doesn't have a physical position.
Well, I mean, but my thing is this: if you're going to take Jokeith Brown, which one of these guys are you dropping? Because we don't have.
Brashard Smith plays the same thing pretty much.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, could he play here?
You don't really have to drop him, because if you look at 2020, 2022 class, you really don't. You might have maybe 5 good receivers who you could possibly go after. You know what I'm saying? So you overly recruit at that position, receiver.
But you only have a certain number of scholarships to give too, so you can't count everybody forward.
Right.
True.
So, like, I mean, at some point there has to be a numbers game. There has to be.
You make them on you put them on a track scholarship. I mean, there's ways around it.
They closed that loophole, Cole. I wish we could. But...
Oh, what? Laquan Anderson?
Ooh, remember that?
Yeah.
Man. We'll put you on a track scholarship.
Y'all understand, you only got a certain amount of numbers. What, we at 22 now? We got 22 or 23?
I think we got 1 or 2 more spots left.
I think we're at 22.
You can just leave off Jake Garcia, and I'm happy with that. Let's roll.
Now the issue is we can't overly recruit. We can't go above. We can't get that one extra spot above and then recruit lesser for the next year. We can't do that.
I mean, it depends, because we probably counted some of these transfer. I think we counted 1 transfer forward to
Jared.
And then
Isaiah Walker, Jared
I think we still are short. We still short the scholarship limit. We still ain't got 85.
Yeah, but you have the incoming counter limit too. Yeah. We're under, but you have the incoming number limit. Otherwise, and that was just to curtail that oversigning that the SEC was doing all the time, because they would have, 100. They would bring in 120-ish players in 4 years, and they would just cut guys or whatever. But yeah, I mean, for Jokeith Brown, it's one of those things I talk about all the time. We cannot keep everybody, unfortunately. No. So unless you're going to, like Cole says, if you want to break my number 1 recruiting rule and not take a quarterback and say Garcia, go somewhere else, even whatever, then okay, you got that slot. Okay. But I mean, if you got Brashard Smith, all due respect, I'm gonna keep him in that class. Jacoby George,
100%.
Jacoby George, like X was saying, he's a different caliber guy. Romello Brinson, he's a different caliber, different size of guy. So then maybe now you look at the defensive side. So maybe you want to say Malik Curtis, is that a guy? If you want to look at other guys, I mean, Corey Hammett was processed out already. Is there another guy that you want to process or something? But I mean, somewhere the number has to shrink for him to have a spot.
I want to get all of y'all's takes on one kid in particular, and that is the cornerback, the only cornerback it seems like we're going after left, and that's Markevious Brown. Do you guys think he is Miami potential as far as the actual corner, or do you think we just don't have many options left, so we need to go all in just because of the depth?
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to get y'all's takes on a kid like him, because me personally, I don't think he's put enough tape at IMG yet to kind of say he's a a cornerback that fits Miami's mold, but I think we just don't have many options left where we kind of have to go after him.
The thing about that, like I keep telling people for the last two years, Mike Runt went and got his guy at the last moment. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not putting too much stock into we need to get a cornerback right away. Everybody know we wanted Jason Marshall, you know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, things happen, and I ain't even gonna say it's over because it ain't. But things happen. Well, you know, he committed to Florida. Okay, so now we got to go back in the bag. Martavis Brown is the next big name. And even if we don't land him, like I say, Mike Runt will go out there and get his guy. He'll go out there and get a cornerback at the last moment that he steals from an SEC school or another school. You know what I'm saying? We need cornerbacks, but you know, the way UM is recruiting, they recruiting safeties. Well, one of the
that 4-2-5 again.
Slot. Yeah, one of the safeties could play slot. So it's like if we get 2 cornerbacks a year, all right, you know what I'm saying? Normally you need 3, you know, but
I'm trying to remember the guy's name. He ended up going to UCF and transferring. I think we were in the conversation with him.
Devon Wilson?
Yes, Devon Wilson. Do you guys think maybe we should have maybe went a little bit more all in with a guy like him now that we're down to just Martavis Brown, or do you think he didn't fit Miami's defense?
I think he was going to go with Shannon anyway. You know, Shannon kind of recruited him earlier, so I think he was going to go with Shannon. Was going to go anyway. So I mean, but again, you could have put a little bit more pressure on like Selwyn Brown's kid. You know what I mean, and try to get him. But at this point, it is what it is, man. You know.
Another guy I want to bring up, he ended up hitting the portal along with most of the Nebraska guys going from South Florida to Nebraska. And one guy that we kind of put some pressure on to try to get to Miami, and that was Keyshawn Green. Cam, before you head out, what's your thoughts on Keyshawn Green going in the portal? Do you think Manny Diaz might go all in on him again, or do you think he fits better at Florida State where he was probably going to begin with?
I would be burning his phone up personally. Okay. Because he's a linebacker at 6'3", 200 pounds, who can run. He's a guy that, you know, we wanted here. He fits in this defense here. You know, that's what I would do. I don't know if we will. But for me, he's a guy, Keyshawn Green, that I definitely want at least to ask about, to see about. And, I mean, it is kind of weird being, you know, the landing home for these guys after they went to the first place. You know, and Isaiah Washington, you know, Walker. Isaiah Walker, there we go. I know why, Cole. I'm just saying it's weird. You know,
no, my hands are wet. My hands are wet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm just drawing them off. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if they're on the roster and they're going to stay here, they're going to be here. And guys like Isaiah Walker, you know, is one of the more vocal guys on social media about his love of Miami and being back home. I mean, he went to Norland High School, which you can literally walk from there to Hard Rock Stadium. I mean, you know, like people park over at Norland who don't want to park at the stadium, and they walk over like literally every single game day. So getting guys like that, and if this is their second spot that ends up being their home, that's fine. But Keyshawn Green, again, he's a guy that I would take on this roster in a heartbeat, absolutely, without any kind of compunction. So I hope that Manny at least calls to see, and if not, and he calls and you know, Keyshawn says, "Hey, coach, you know what? Pandemic, everything, just like all the guys are staying down south. I want to stay up here by Tallahassee because he's from that area." All right, you know, good luck, Godspeed. But you know, don't say it will be for lack of trying. You know, don't let it be a lack of effort that pushes him elsewhere. Because, you know, I don't want to be like the University of Florida who didn't call Bill Knighton and let him default to Miami. Thanks.
Definitely.
Appreciate it.
Paul, do you have anything left for the panel, or do you want to go with some rapid fire Q&A with the fans?
I actually want to ask Cam one more question because he is leaving now. Okay. Cam, is there anyone on the staff that you are evaluating under, in a sense, a microscope that could be on the hot seat if they do not succeed this upcoming season? Mike Rump?
Period. Blank.com. End of story.
There it is.
Good teacher. He's a good developer of talent.
Is he a better teacher than Ahmad Black?
I mean, wow. Talking about teaching football, not substitute teaching because somebody wanted a sick day because they got hungover the day before. But in terms of football, Mike Rumpf does develop players. We've seen that he plays, had guys who were drafted and things like that. There are a couple 4-stars. We wrote about it at stateoftheu.com that every year for the last 5 years, like X is talking about, at the end of the recruiting year, there is a guy who's added to this class, whether it's Javonte Dean, whether it's Isaiah Johnson, whether it's whomever.
Adrian Colbert,
a Christian Williams. There's a guy at the end of the year that Mike Rumpf goes and adds. And that's great to be able to do that.
Definitely.
But we're doing that because we're missing on the guys up front. You know what I mean? And to me, you cannot overlook that fact because they go hand in hand. Yeah, you're getting these guys at the end. Excuse me. Most of them are blue chips, but because you're missing on the generational guys locally. Your Jason Marshalls, your Patrick Surtains, your
Tyson Campbell.
Tyson Campbell.
You're getting the third tier instead of the first and second tier.
And these are all the misses, and then we get a guy at the end, but we missed on 3, transformational kind of guys.
Right.
So for me, it really, and especially like we're talking about, it is the position on the roster that has the least amount of depth, as a position on the roster that has the least proven talent, and the basis and foundation for him staying here, Mike Rumpf, is the fact that he's developing these guys. So you got to show and prove with their performance on the field. Guys like DJ Ivey, who we talked about and lambasted last year because he got lit on fire like he was, being spit roasted over an open fire, a couple times. Now all of a sudden he needs to be better. Now you're talking about all these guys who are at this position need to be better. And you got to find a way to recruit to the level that everybody else, especially what Ephraim Bond is doing at safety.
Yep.
Because regardless, like I said, we got at least 3 NFL players at safety, and I mean soon NFL players: Amari Carter, Irvin Hall, and Bubba Bolden. Right? You add in Avonte Williams, you add in Jalen Harrell, you add in Brian Balaam, you add in Keyshawn Washington. Right?
Jason.
You add in Keontre Smith on top of that.
James
I
Williams.
didn't even get to this current recruiting class, and y'all are already saying, and we already got more and more. At least, if not 6 NFL players already, and you're recruiting elite guys, top 5 guys nationally on top of that.
I'm gonna keep saying this, but y'all need to remember Cam Kitchens. Anybody that's watching, Cam Kitchens is going to be the next great safety for the Miami Hurricanes.
I hear you, but I was just going down what's on the roster.
Of course.
I'm still going and getting Kitchens and Williams on top of that.
Yep.
And then you got relatively the recruiting projects right next door.
Right.
And you got this mansion right here. Look, so I mean, it would be one thing if it were just the running back room was great and cornerbacks was lagging a little bit. Cornerback room recruiting, quarterback performance have both been lagging, and the safeties right next door in the same secondary are the shining beacon of what is happening.
Now, before we get into Q&A with the fans, another position group and another position coach that a lot of attention's been on, and that is Coach Packy and the linebacker group.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Coach Packy and the linebacker group? Because it seems like lately we've been settling for the 3-star guys, like you mentioned earlier. We're missing on the first tier, we're missing on the second tier, and we're having to settle for the 3rd-tier guys. We mentioned a guy like Keyshawn Green who's in the portal. We missed out on him. There's a lot of other guys we missed out on, but what are your thoughts on the linebacker group and Coach Packy?
I mean, there's also switch. Bonner touches that a little bit, but Diaz and is in as well. I think that we got lucky-ish with getting Avery Huff because that helps that whole situation. I credit Packy a lot because it's been multiple times reported that he was the guy who went to Manny Diaz and was like, hey, we need to go to this hybrid striker position, whatever you want to call it. Like that was literally Packy was the one who brought that to the forefront.
Yeah.
And that's good. And his first year when he got promoted to full-time on-the-field coach when we went from 9 to 10 assistant, Packy got a couple of All-Americans from out of state to come take official business. They didn't end up coming here, but, we can see the effort. I mean, this year is really going to show and prove for me whether he's up to snuff.
Definitely.
So Packy need to make that call to T2 at Central. Go ahead and
don't even talk to me about that. I've been saying that for months.
Yes. I mean, you got another 5-star just sitting there waiting for you, man. I mean, the kid has more talent than anybody on a roster in the linebacker group.
Eddie Johnson,
nationally.
Willie
Eddie
Williams.
Johnson.
It's going to
I
end
love
poorly.
Eddie Johnson.
I know they can play. They look the part. They play the part. They got the size. You put on the jersey, they walking out and exactly behind the eyes and between the ears. That's the part that. No, I don't want no parts of that.
Hey,
And I made
okay,
this,
so Cam, by you saying that now look, when Jimmy Johnson was recruiting, he was recruiting a lot of them type of players. Jimmy Johnson was like, hey, y'all go be crazy on the field. I got
Tiger
y'all.
Clark.
Take care of y'all. But off the field, you know what I'm saying? You gotta control yourself. You know what I'm saying? So that's all T2 need, man.
But you know what? So X,
That's all he need.
I think somebody and I think we talked about this before, Brad. Someone like T. Lou could definitely benefit for someone like Ed Reed being on the inside that locker room.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I don't know, man.
I think
I don't know. I've seen I've seen some kids who have been problems in other places, and
okay, but
everybody's not savable, and I've always been a person who I will take talent, even if it is a little bit of a whatever kind of issue. T2 rubs me the wrong way.
I keep asking everybody, you know what I'm saying, the problems. What are the major problems that making people don't want him, or coaches or teams? He's a kid. When you were 16, 17 years old, you got in trouble. Everybody got in trouble. Don't nobody sit there and lie. So it's like, but when you got the right guidance, you say, okay, man, I can't really do this anymore. T2 is literally the number one linebacker in the nation. He's been this way since his 9th grade year, probably before that in Little League. So he sees this. He sees, okay, everybody want me. I'm this, I'm that. I could really act a certain way and probably get away with it.
No, I mean,
it's a natural instinct.
We're just on different sides of the street with this one, brother.
Bro,
that's all.
Yeah. Bro, I want to get you involved a little bit. What are your thoughts on a kid like Deshaun Troutman?
Oh man, what a thumper, right? You put on that. That's the thing. When you see it, you're just like, man, he's gonna take somebody's head off. Like that's another dude that's probably a little underrated. No, I'm a big blue chip.
When I see Troutman and I see the way he carries himself, especially on Twitter, and the way he talks to these guys, he reminds me of a mini Rohan Marley, man. The way he carries himself and that swagger, and just he has that big head mentality, but he backs it up, man. And I love that. That's something that the Canes have been missing for so long.
Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you what, I would take T. Lou over Troutman in a heartbeat.
Obviously.
Oh boy.
You mentioned Rohan, and you know what? He's a bigger version because Rohan was the rat. That was his nickname, and that's you asked me who's my. People always say this all the time. It's not hyperbole. Rohan Marley was my favorite defensive player at the University of Miami. That was my guy. I was like, holy cow, the dude was all heart, and he just literally would just. I don't think he could play in today's era. There's a lot of guys that would have lost their efficacy because they just went after your dome. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You're sitting out a half. And I think the NCAA needs to go ahead and they got to take a look at this. And I've been saying this they need to adopt the basketball, intent plus one, a flagrant 1 and flagrant 2. These incidental ones where they come in and the wide receiver lowers their head. Fine. I'm fine with the 15-yard penalty. I am. Don't kick these kids out of the game. That's a shame. That is absolutely asinine. Some of these bang plays happen. There's no way that kid showed any amount of intent. Now, if he shows the intent to go ahead and headhunt you, all right, he can go. I'm fine with that. But, that's going to benefit some of these guys. We talked about, Amari earlier, and now, somebody like Troutman too. I'm just like, dude, just hit him hard, but just hit him legal. But Troutman's a stud, man.
Go ahead, Paul.
I got a question for Marsh. Sorry, it's hard to work with 8 people, Marsh. Sorry.
You're good.
Kind of look like the Brady Bunch intro. But Marsh, you got one scholarship left. Who would you add to the class?
You're really gonna ask me that?
Jay Garcia. He's such a homer.
Is your guy?
You need a quarterback. I go after the Cam Underwood rules of recruiting. You need a quarterback in the class, and Jay Garcia is that guy. So why not go after and land a 5-star talent quarterback? That's what I know. I know we have Tyler Van Dyke and everything, but every single season you should be trying to land that kind of elite talent at the most important position on the football field, and Jake's that guy.
So let me ask you this, though, Marsh. Does everybody think that because of this new rule with college football that De'Aaron King possibly might not come back?
I mean, I don't think he's going to come back. Do you guys?
Why not? What's he going to do?
Not?
He's not going to be a quarterback in the NFL.
What if he wins? What if he wins the video game numbers?
It won't help that, I don't think.
I think if you have an opportunity to come back, I mean, again, I think it all plays out on how he performs this year and what he does this year.
His 5th year in college, so I think being 23, that will factor into that decision. I don't know if he wants to come back for year.
Chris Winkie was like what 29 playing quarterback.
I think Chris Winkie.
Yeah, he played baseball first.
He's 28, I think. Yeah,
player first.
Remember we had Andre King. Andre King was like what 26.
Yeah, he was old. He was old.
What do you mean? We got a 29-year-old punter. I mean, what's the difference?
Yeah, we got an old.
How old was Brock Berlin?
Oh, Brock Berlin. He was standard.
No, he just transferred straight over from Florida.
He just transferred. I don't. Me personally, I don't think King. If he has a good year this year, he's going to go out. He's going to go to the draft. Unfortunately, NFL scouts still saying he's not going to play quarterback. So his best bet will be to come back. You know what I'm saying? To give him 2 full years and say, man, look, I can play quarterback. You know,
right?
Hey, and why would
outstanding year this year for him to get a quarterback position in the NFL?
And what's not a bigger proposal to come back than having your first game go against Alabama Crimson Tide?
I mean, us as fans, we want that. I want that.
I think you need that.
Yeah, you know, although Cozy is my guy, I will be more comfortable going in the game with King at quarterback.
Absolutely. Cam, who's the guy you want, Cam?
I put it in the chat. Mason Smith from Louisiana.
Boom.
Do you think we legit have a chance at a guy like that who's a Louisiana homer? Obviously LSU is not the same team they were a year ago. It seems like they're starting to fall off little by little. Do you think we legit have a chance at that? I mean, Coach Stroud has done an amazing job recruiting guys on the defensive line. Do you think that chemistry builds up a little bit more and we got a chance at him?
I mean, define legitimate chance.
50-50?
More than 40%.
More than, 50-50, probably not. Like, are there conversations to be had? You know, are there things that he likes about Miami legitimately that he's told people unasked? Yes. So there's a chance. I don't think it's a big chance. I don't think that they're going to do. They're going to back the truck up like they do to everybody in the state. You know, I don't think they're going to let him get away. But
D just brought up another guy.
They're trying.
Who has? Let me ask you this then: what's a more higher chance, Mason Smith or Tyreek Sapp?
Tyreek Sapp.
That's Sapp.
And do you think we legit? I mean,
St. Thomas Aquinas is right here. Look, St. Thomas Aquinas is right here. Roman's alma mater.
Go ahead, bro.
I'm talking about because I live not too far away from there. So I'm saying I'm pointing towards where the school actually is over here.
Hold on, Cam, where you live at? Cam, where you stay at?
Man, DM me, bro. I'll talk to you another time.
So listen,
but I live up here.
I grew up right off of Broward and 24th, bro.
I live a little bit further north than that, but I live in Broward.
Sapp is the most legitimate chance we have, but if Sapp don't go to Alabama, then 9 times out of 10 he'll be a Hurricane. But
the comparison
I don't think we get either one of them. Personally, it's gonna be a name that like I say, it's gonna be a name late in the class, late in the season, probably before December, that pops up and it comes in. It's a few of the names that's still out there that's probably committed right now that we're still after. Like I say, the Jason Marshall thing, the staff is going to go after that to the day he signs.
Right.
What I want to know, X, is why is it taking so long for Amari Daniels to make a decision? It seems like we talk about the running back room, and it seems like Cam Harris is kind of probably most likely going to leave after this year. So that leaves you with 3 healthy backs after this season, because it seems like Robert Burns is a little banged up and he's already graduated. That could be a guy that might go on and leave as well. So then you're down to literally 3 running backs. It seems like Amari Daniels has to be in the conversation, right?
Yeah, see, I mean, he never set a date to recruit. To commit. His thing is with a lot of other players, they want to see how this Miami offense works. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't want to just jump into it saying, okay, this Miami, I like him. Oh, the coach comes, he's gonna they want to see it because we got Enos last year and the offense was worse.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, as a kid, why would I commit to something that I don't know what's really gonna be there? You know what I'm saying? So just give him a few games in, and oh man, the running back's doing this. Oh yeah, let me. You know what I'm saying? He likes you. UM was not showing him the love at first. They switched it around. Now they showing him the love. Texas A&M was showing him major love. Like, I mean,
Jimbo.
basically almost was ready.
And Jimbo.
Texas A&M, you know what I'm saying? So Jimbo, then James Coley, because James Coley was at Georgia. Georgia was showing him major love. Now he at Texas A&M. So them coaches build their relationships. Hickerson, he's building that relationship with Omari. I'm actually going to have Omari on the show probably in a couple of weeks, but
Nice.
He likes UM. You know what I'm saying? He's just waiting. Waiting to see what they do on the field. If we do good this year, man, you're gonna start seeing a lot of the players say, "I'm staying home."
I'm interested to get Ko and Roman's take on. You just mentioned our running backs coach, Coach Hickerson. What is your difference between him and a guy like Coach Brown, who just took the next step and he's now coaching at the Rams? Well, do you think we upgraded in the running back coach position, or do you think you think so? What are y'all?
Me personally, I think so. As far as teaching, recruiting, the energy, big time. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Thomas Brown had a high energy. The thing I think he didn't understand was the surrounding atmosphere in South Florida.
The culture. He didn't understand the culture of South Florida.
He didn't understand it at all. Like you really don't need to go outside of South Florida to recruit a running back.
And you see that with the assistant coaches that we hired this year. We got nothing but culture guys. I mean, you talk about Hippolyte. You talk about Cooney.
You bring in Lockett.
I mean, you got everybody. Yeah.
Listen, FSU completely messed up by letting go of Lockett. I don't know what their mind frame was at, but I said there's been two great hires at the University of Miami the last couple of years. One was David Feely. I think that was hands down one of the best hires. And then getting Lockett last year. Cooney and DVD with the recruiting, I think they're doing a phenomenal job. I mean, those are local guys. It's like when you had ICE over there, trying to recruit, helping out. You have people, you have people that were literally inside the community that know how to network with these local coaches, right? And that's what you need.
About Coach Fields, man. Coach Fields.
Yeah, correct. Mm-hmm. So now, you got somebody who understands the culture. Like, you go back to someone, and you go to somebody like Don Solinger, literally. What did that guy have to do in the community? The dude was a running back coach, but you look at the talent that man coached and what he produced and what came after, his coaching. I remember a couple of years ago, Donnell Bennett came to interview for the running back job. You know what the University of Miami did? They ended up giving it to Hurley Brown. Are you kidding me? That's what I don't understand. Some of those coaches that we had over the last couple of years, you're taking a defensive back and moving him to be your running backs coach. When you got somebody like Donnell Bennett, who played at your school, who was a good running back, went to the league, played in the league, and you don't even give him an opportunity, that's where the coaches, I think, the head coaches and the uppers, they don't understand the philosophy of what these other coaches can do.
Beautiful. And I'll piggyback off that and talking about recruiting and just getting it. So, Howard, the Godfather, Schnellenberger, right? He talked about the state of Miami, and he basically drew a line under our line. This is the state of South Florida. This is the state of Pompano. I mean, you essentially, you got 11 kids out of Miami right now, 3 out of Hollywood, 2 out of Fort Lauderdale, and 1. You got a 22 class. I just rattled off 16 kids that are south of Pompano. You don't even need to go past that. You don't even get out of the state. You don't even dude, there you are. So obviously we talked about the running back room. When you go ahead and you pull off what you pulled off last year and look how they're going to play dividends this year, and you turn around, you got Thad Franklin kind of committed already. I mean, what can you ask for? I mean, that's what all the Miami Hurricane fans said. That's what X said. You don't need to go out of here to go get a lot of skill position guys. And, as much as we've said this over the years, these guys are actually putting it to practice. I mean, they literally are putting it to practice. They are literally comprised of a class. Out of 22 kids, they have 20 from the state of Florida. And for some of these national championships for other teams across the country, is Alabama winning a national championship if they don't come down here and get South Florida wide receivers?
No.
Answer's probably not. No, because that's what a field shifting wide receiver like Jerry Jeudy, is going to be able to do for
Amari Cooper,
yes,
Calvin Ridley.
you can't do that. So, I mean, for what
Jacoby
the teams
Brooks. Oh my God.
like, this is what we're trying to defend our turf. We're trying to build this wall, and it just happened that this class, our wall, even backed down closer to the gables. So I'm in on these groups as a recruiting for the most part. There was one, we won't mention him again. Cam mentioned him quite well and eloquently, so I'm going to leave that alone. But I think we got a good staff of recruiters right now, especially along the offensive line. I think we're doing much better. Like, my thing that killed me with the offensive line recruiting, and I don't mean to jump topics on you, Paul, but my thing with the offensive, we would recruit more guards than the Miami Heat. Like, we needed
100%.
tackles. We needed tackles, offensive tackles. And now we're starting to see the length at the tackle position. I didn't think Searles did a good job. I mean, Butch, come on, get out of here. That guy wasn't a recruiter.
Well,
so,
that's what happened with Donaldson. I think he ate Butch.
Yeah.
We're starting to build pipelines too. I like that. The Columbus pipeline that's coming on with the offensive line, I think that's going to pan out pretty well. You got Ryan Rodriguez and hopefully Julian Armella that will join as well.
Last time that we won a national championship, you had a Latin guy from Columbus on the offensive line. That should be like a no-brainer, right? That is a no-brainer. And that's just goes in line. We have a good staff of recruiters, boys. I really think. I mean, and can we put something else to bed too? Because there's a loyalist defense of somebody, and they're like, oh, we're not winning for him to get the recruits for his room. Hello, have you looked at our current class? We were 6 and 7 last year. It doesn't seem to be bothering everybody else. I mean, we're killing it on local. What's the local guys that are affected? Well, did you look at the running back room? Because where are those guys from? Where's Chaney from? Somebody want to tell me where Rooster's from? Yeah. Okay. What about where's Franklin from? Oh yeah, but we have to win to keep the guys home, right? No, it's malarkey. Get out of here. It just now that's the same spotlight. We have a good team of recruiters. Just get me the recipe, boys, and then you get somebody like Lashley to go ahead and bake the cake, and it'll all work itself out.
Definitely. Well, I think we're forgetting about Q&A, right?
People forgetting about Pata too.
Mark. Let's go to Q&A. Oh yeah, Edwin Pata, right? The brother of Brian Pata. I mean, that's one thing about Manny D is, like, I think in the past we haven't had this strong of kind of core assistants that we've had in the past that have that local connection. Like we've mentioned previously, at the high school level. I think it's very well known. Al Golden kind of killed those relationships, and Mark Ricks, moving forward, we had to redevelop them. Speaking of local connections, to start off our Q&A, X and Streeter just interviewed Shamar Stewart out of Pace High School in Opelika, Florida. We know we do have ties to Pace High School, Monsignor Pace. Stephen Morris did play there. So did DeMarcus Van Dyke.
So did X.
What are your thoughts? Yeah, so did X as well. Or Miami. Did you go to Miami Norland as well?
Yeah, I went to Norland first, then I transferred to Pace.
Gotcha. So, speaking with Shamar Stewart, how confident are you with him, or is it way too early in the process?
Way too early. Kid pretty much knows. He knows the game already. He knows every school gonna come at him and try to get him. He basically told me like he's gonna wait to sign the day to commit. He told me the schools basically who recruiting him hard is LSU, Georgia, Florida. And I asked him a question. I was like, well, what do a school have to do to get you? And he would say, man, they just got to feel right. You know what I'm saying? It got to fit me, off camera, I told him about Coach Stroud, about his successful rate of getting players drafted. And he was like, oh, I didn't even know. You know what I'm saying? But I talk to Coach Stroud all the time, and he's like one of the coolest dudes alive. And as of now, everybody keep asking me, man, my inbox was blowing up. Boy, we gonna get him. I'm like, man, the kid going to 11th grade. You know what I'm saying? Let us focus on this class first, man.
It reminds me of the Donnell Harris situation a few years back, where we jumped on the bandwagon very quick. We thought he was all UM, and then he started playing the whole recruiting game with him and his pops. And we knew real quick that he was not going to Miami, and that's something that we can't jump the gun on. I think a lot of fans do that a little bit too soon. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, with him, I don't. I mean, like I said, he says he's going to be signing day. We just got to be right there. Do everything that's right. Education is going to be very important to him. His family, they're very strong on education. So I think we have a legitimate good chance with him. It's another defensive end who I say I want both of them. I want Shamar Stewart and I want Keanu Jackson. If we don't get neither one of them, I feel like we kind of failed. But it is other defensive ends out there. But I want them too. We get them too, and we good.
I want to ask a question of Marsh and Rowe that it's not put up in the comment chat, but do you guys think we would have a successful season if the two losses we have this year is to Clemson and Florida State?
I'll let Rowe go first.
No. Anytime you lose to your rival like Florida State.
Yeah.
And you know what? You want to talk about a reversal of fortune, too. It wasn't too long ago where the class that we would have would be Jimbo's class, and now it's our class. I think they're little brother you again. I think losing to them
Set your back.
that puts a bitter pill in my mouth. You pick a different loss in FSU, and I'd answer that question differently. Clemson is a season in itself. Clemson is a season in itself. That you need to play close. You can't. I mean, come on. The last two times we've played them, we haven't even scored a touchdown. We lost 58-0. Hey, kudos to Al Golden to losing your court case. You just lost 58-0 again. So you turn around and you got to play Clemson close. You got to have a puncher's chance. You got to get kids to believe. You got to be able to move the ball against them. You got to do some things, But hey, a team that's kind of beaten them in the past is Syracuse, right? They Dino and gang. What kind of offense does Dino run?
Spread.
What kind of? I'm just saying, just give yourself a puncher's chance. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying anything more than that.
And another thing is, you look at Syracuse, they had a elite. I mean, not really elite, but he was a gamer in Eric Dungy who did a little bit of everything. And De'Aaron King's a better version of Eric Dungy.
Oh yeah.
You talk about a gamer and somebody that can throw and run the ball. It's not afraid to do anything.
Hold on, Marsh. Listen, the key for quarterbacks, and I don't want to steal from you, Marshall, but the thing for quarterbacks, and this is the thing that De'Aaron King, because you mentioned him, and I just want to. There's two plays, right? There's the play that the coaches call, and it's the play he can make when the play's not there. Yep. And if you're going to beat elite teams, if you're going to have a chance against Clemson, you need a quarterback that can make those plays. Just go watch that game when Clemson finally beat Alabama to win their first national championship, and you tell me if Deshaun made those plays. When the play wasn't there, did he make plays? Oh, hell yes, he did. And, I think we have that quarterback. I really do. So,
and look at Houston versus Oklahoma as well.
Yeah. Marsh.
Yeah.
Very well.
Well, Clemson is it's going to be a measuring stick game to see how close we are to the elite of college football or how far off we are from the elite of college football. And I'm not, predicting a win or anything, but I'm just like Roe. I keep it within 2 scores. You can't have the same situation like the ACC championship game when it was done by halftime. So I just want us to see it keep it competitive up until, the last few minutes of the game, fourth quarter. And then Florida State, it would not be a successful season if we lost. Just off of how poor they look right now. FSU is not good this season. They have no offensive line. Blackman is there for his 10th year. This just isn't a good Seminole team. And so if we were to lose to them, it would be put a horrible taste in your mouth, especially because Clemson is the week after that as well.
Well, I don't want to say Florida State is that bad. I mean, I think on the offensive side of the ball, I think they're bad, but their defensive line and their secondary is going to be really good.
We've been like that the last 2 years, though.
I'm just saying, though, and again, I'm just saying, we already had this conversation. Someone brought up if we lost to UAB and FSU, but beat Clemson, would we have a successful season? Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not. You know what I mean? But I think and I said this before, if you can be competitive with Clemson, if you win every game and you go to Clemson and you lose by 10, 17 points, by all means, now you show progression. And I think that is valuable moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't want to lose to Clemson either, man. I don't care if it's by 1
It'd be
point.
a moral victory. Be a moral victory to keep it within 10.
I mean, the one thing I say, man, last year Manny Diaz got the job. Manny Diaz was he was basically learning while he was being hired. You know what I'm saying? That's first year being the head coach. He was learning on the job. He didn't know. He didn't understand.
Right.
My offensive coordinator is not making it. You know what I'm saying? I gotta look to somebody else on the staff. He didn't have that. He didn't know till later in the season. My defensive coordinator calling a horrible call, and they get a first down on the 4th and 17. He didn't know that till later on in the season. You know what I'm saying? So now he knows these things. Right now, man, the state of Miami, we really don't have that time to keep playing catch up with none of these programs because, granted, the pandemic came. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the players staying home. The social injustice going around the country. A lot of players staying home. If this doesn't happen, you know what I'm saying, our recruiting class maybe not be like this, you know what I'm saying? So right now we're here where we got to say we got to keep moving forward. So we got to stay, we got to be like, well, we don't want to lose to Clemson. We want to beat them. You know what I'm saying? We definitely don't want to lose to Florida State. We want to win the games we're supposed to win, and then we want to win the games that everybody counts
large
out.
margin.
You know what
I'm saying? The games that we're supposed to win, we need to win impressively, not barely. We need to put, like we've all been talking about earlier. We need to put the gas on the pedal, man. We got to do it all the time. But let's we're over 2 hours already, man, talking about Canes football. We all love this team, man. Let's wrap this all up with some rapid fire. Let's start with Cam real quick. Cam, what was your thoughts on the preseason poll and obviously Miami not being in it? What was your thoughts on that? And us being end up picking 5th or 4th in the ACC? Sixth
in the ACC. Both, I don't like either of them, but I think that they are deserved. We have to show and prove to earn that kind of status. But obviously Miami is a relevant program because even when we are losing, Miami is still fresh on the minds and in the mouths of a lot of people who are talking about us, thinking about us, seeing what's going on about us, and everything like that. But yeah, I don't like not being in those polls, but I think that is where we should be right now, and we just have to go and earn it if we're going to get there.
Definitely. X, we talked about this earlier, but what is the chances that Miami is still talking to Terrence Lewis?
It's chances. I give a little hint. It's a coach on the staff that got heavily ties with the school that he's at right now. So it's chances. It's chances. But who knows? You know what I'm saying? He still got to prove that he's ready. He's gonna be available. He can't have no more mental breakdowns, no more mistakes. You got to go out there and do his thing. Play football and be a kid. You know what I'm saying? Stop trying to grow up faster than you are.
All right, Ro, question for you. How long will it take until the Miami Hurricanes get respect from all of college football? What week?
Yeah. That's a great question. Why are you asking me that? No,
week 4 after they beat Clemson.
Yeah, when are they going to go? I mean, you could do it. You could do it week 1. You could do it week 1. You could get respect week 1. Everybody, Miami's in this position where the polls where they're like, you put them. That's a push, right? They're the most overrated team, and they're also the most underrated team. So where do you put them? Put them at 6 because you just don't know. So you want to go ahead, and we know, and we've all been fans a very, very long time. You add it all up, probably over 100 years, 200 years. And we've known over the last decade, we're one side of the ball off. I think our defense is good. Last year was 13th in the country. The only thing that's keeping us back from the pundits is we don't have an offense. But we have a 50-plus touchdown scoring machine who missed a couple games, by the way, when he did that. And now we have a bona fide offensive coordinator who at least showed at this level he could put up 40 points a game. I think you come out and you do what I said they do against UAB, you immediately put that respect in their mouth.
Nice. Marsh, this is a perfect lob to you. What are the chances that Miami and Garcia are still in play?
Well, it's 100% still in play. Garcia talks to Miami. I think every week almost. He FaceTimes the staff, so it's 100% still in play. I'm not saying it's 100% going to happen that we flip him, but I'm still confident that UM can pull it off. Just because when you think about Garcia's relationship to guys like Brinson and Brantley and some of these guys, they love Jake. They want him as their quarterback, and they already have that chemistry. So I could very well see it happening.
Awesome. Co, this is the best question for you because there's not too many fans that are closer to the field than you. What is going to go through your mind when you see a guy like De'Aaron King or Jalen Knighton score that touchdown, go to the sideline, get on that whiteboard and said, this is the reason why you come to the U?
Man, if I'd been able to drop my draws and streak, 100 yards down the field, I would, bro. Like, I would literally run butt naked across the field if I saw some shit like that, bro. But, here's the thing, though. One touchdown is not going to prove anything. Messages on the whiteboard aren't going to prove anything. I think the season is going to dictate who comes here, in 21, 22, 23. I'm looking forward to see how these kids gel together. I mean, again, you had no spring ball 4 practices. Now you're coming through fall. It's a short time. Again, we talk about the humidity. Now, at least Miami's been working in that. But, again, it's still going to be different. Now you're going to be under the lights. You're going to be, with a little crowd, So we'll see what happens, man. But I just want to see improvement through all facets of the game, man. But if King, just takes a first, a naked bootleg, from the 10-yard line and houses at 90 yards, us 13,000 fans are going to go nuts, bro. You guys might hear us down there in Hialeah over in Miami Gardens, with 13,000 of us, we're going to be yelling, bro.
Absolutely, man. Consistency and accountability are 2 things that are very key for this football season. And I think we are all looking forward to this football season. Again, we are just 5 days away. I cannot wait. I know me and Co and a few others will be at the football game. Paul, do you have anything else for this phenomenal panel?
No, thank you so much for everyone coming, man. Just taking time out of your night to come on the show.
Turn off a chain.
Really
Hey, yeah, you know what? Last but not least, before we end the show, I want to get y'all's thoughts. Co, I want you last. What do y'all think is the new turnover chain is gonna look like?
I don't know, man. That's a good question. They always do something different. It's going to be Roman Callis over there.
I don't know. Maybe it might be a helmet this time. I don't know. Man.
Are the rings gone?
No, that's touchdown ring staying.
They're staying?
I hope the rings are gone because we losing the game and you score a touchdown. You don't need to put on the rings. You know what I'm saying? I mean, now Manny Diaz they've been innovative about the turnover change. So who knows? Me personally, it might be a helmet, a UMO helmet, something like that. I know it's going to come out a lot this year.
I think maybe it changes. There's a couple different ideas I had in my head. Maybe like a spinning hurricane warning flag. Like the actual symbol of a hurricane.
Right.
You like a spinner. Maybe the state of Florida. I mean, I think that would be pretty dope. Have a big old medallion of just the state of Florida, like pretty much like you own the state. I mean, I don't know. We shall see.
Absolutely. Well, hey guys, I appreciate it so much for y'all taking time out of your day. Again, I'm going to go through the panel real quick just so everybody that's watching, you know exactly who you watched for the past 2 hours and 20 minutes and where you can follow them. We got my man Marsh, who is a co-host of Fours Up podcast. We got my guy Roman Kane, who breaks down everything on Orange Bowl Boys with the crew. We got X with Caneville and Footballville, Cam Underwood with State of the U, who's also doing stuff with Mark Rogers TV on YouTube, and my man Co, who is co-host of Kane Gang, and you will see him front row on every football game. Fellas, I appreciate it so much. Me and Paul are super proud to have all you guys on. Thank y'all again. Anytime y'all want to be on the show, you hit us up. We're there. Paul, any last words?
Nah, man. Thanks again, guys. And always all about the U.
Appreciate it, guys.
Appreciate it. I'll see you.